What's up? Welcome back, everybody. That beat that you just heard come from oh my God, I just closed it up. I wanted to give credit. You know what? I gotta let y'all know who produced that track, man. It's only right that I give proper credit. How y'all doing today? Let me get a one if my audio is good. Thank you to Philip Felly Beats. That's the grimy old school hip hop joint that he had on his channel. So if you like that beat, you can get that joint from Philip Felly Beats. That's not mine, that's his. Wanted to go with a little different vibe, so I went to the brother Philip Felly, and that joint was banging. Now, how y'all doing today? Let me get a one. Let me get a one if my audio is good. Appreciate everybody out there that those ones let me know that we can begin. Now, this will be a live presentation, so I ask you all just to be patient with your brother as I access certain images and transition from slide to slide. Today, we're going to be talking about the occult side of hip hop. And when we say occult, we mean the hidden side of hip hop. Now, you say, Brother Sanchez, what you mean by the hidden side of hip hop? Well, everybody listen to hip hop music. Everybody not aware of the spiritual entities that created the culture and the occult history of what we call hip hop and in the Masonic influence of hip hop. Now, let me give a shout out to my brother Mind's Eye. Thank you for that super chat donation, my brother. Always supporting your brother. I appreciate it. People, hit the like button on your way in because what I got for you is very powerful today. So today we're going to be breaking down supreme mathematics, 5% nation symbolism, and hip hop occult science. Now, many of you may not be familiar with supreme mathematics. Many of you who are familiar with the 5% nation, or even if you're not even familiar with the 5%ers, if you just grew up in any schools of enlightenment or done any kind of research on universal mathematics, you'll realize that what the 5% nation calls supreme mathematics is not exclusive to the 5% nation. We about to get it in today. Now hold on for 1 minute, people. So supreme mathematics is not exclusive to the 5% nation. It's a universal concept that I'll be breaking down to you today. And I'll also be talking a little bit about Clarence the 13X and a little bit of the history of the 5% nation, why they call themselves the 5% nation, and also we're going to look into a little bit of their symbolism, and as always, get into the sacred geometry. Now, a lot of people think they're called a 5% nation because it represents the 5% people who trying to wake up the other 85% sleeping giant, but that's just one reason. Today, I'm going to be giving y'all stuff that you never really heard on any other channel. Even if you're a 5%er, you probably ain't never heard some of the stuff that I'm going to be teaching you about your symbolism and your movement. Say, Brother Sanchez, you ain't a 5%er. What you mean you're going to be teaching the 5% nation something about their stuff? Well, I'm a cosmologist. I deal with ancient cosmology, and if you have a group, that is chances are that group have a symbol. And chances are the original meaning of that symbol can be traced back to ancient cosmology. That's why I do what I do, folks. And that is the secret of the Freemasons. Now, everyone that's a 5%er don't know about cosmology. Some of these cats, man, they just regular cats, out here trying to make it, in the hood or whatever. They see a group of positive brothers, they join it, and boom, boom, boom. Nothing wrong with that. So what I'm teaching you has nothing to do with that aspect of the nation. Even though most of the members in the 5% nation may not gonna be familiar with some of the stuff I'm gonna be teaching, I ask that everyone just be open-minded. And now, many of you probably never heard of the 5% nation. Many famous musicians and famous activists are members of the 5% nation, and we can get into that now. To understand a little bit about the 5% nation, you gotta talk about a guy by the name of Clarence the 13X, who was a member of the Nation of Islam. Clarence left the Nation of Islam for disagreements with Elijah Muhammad. And those disagreements were basically that he didn't like that Elijah Muhammad taught that the white man was a devil, but didn't teach that the black man was God. Clarence felt that, hey, if you're going to say the white man is the devil, then on the other hand, you got to say the black man is God. That was one of the disagreements. Another disagreement, Clarence didn't agree with Elijah Muhammad that Wallace Fard Muhammad was any type of God or any type man that should be put on a pedestal above any black man. Mr. Clarence felt that the black man was God in the flesh. This is the teachings of Clarence 13X, and that's why it became the nations of gods and earth. He taught that the black man himself was the God in the flesh, was God in the flesh, and that the name Allah can be translated to arm, leg, arm, head. Many people say that, but they don't know who created that. That was created by Clarence the 13X, the founder of the Nation of Gods and Earth. And that's very symbolic because when you sync the name of God to the human, this is the ancient practice of as above, so below, personifying the macrocosmic body that reside around the human became the name Allah. And we'll get into that later when we get into the sacred geometry. But we got to just get a little introduction on the 5% nation. And I got a doggone headache right now, but I'm going to ignore it and keep pushing. I see the super chats. I'm going to read them in a minute. So just a little bit about Clarence. You see he was disagreeing, had his little disagreements. So Clarence went on to start his own thing, you know, and this was, you know, around the 50s, 60s, something like that, when he started to branch off and do his own thing. That's very important. All right, now we're about to get into the slideshow. Now that we got a little bit about the origins of the 5% nation, now the 5% nation is founded on something called supreme mathematics. And basically what that is being able to look at numbers as more than just numerical digits. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Numbers are symbols, and each of these symbols can relate to a different degree of the cosmos. We about to get real deep today, 5%ers. All right? We all can each one teach one. So shout out to my nations of gods and earth out there. A shout out to the brother Lord Jamar out there, who's a very powerful, influential 5%er who's holding it down. So shout out to him and all the brothers. Now check this out, guys. We about to get deep into it. Now this thumbnail you see on the screen with Jay-Z on it, rocking the 5% medallion, is very controversial because a lot of 5%ers say, hey man, he ain't one of us. He just faking the funk. You know, a lot of some 5%ers don't claim it, but I will tell you, he wouldn't rock that if he wasn't a 5%er. So me personally, I'm just gonna take Jigga's word for it until a 5%er, you know, snatch his chain or something. I'm just playing. No, I'm just bullshitting. But what we want to keep in mind so far is that Clarence the 13 coined the words supreme mathematics and was the founder of the Nation of Gods and Earth after branching off of the Nation of Islam. Now, today when you look at the Nation of Islam, you see a huge influence with Scientology. I got news for you folks. When the Nation of Gods and Earth were founded, it was around the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. You know what? I can really be accurate on that if you give me a minute. I don't want to guess at all. So it was founded in 1964 in Harlem. But the Nation of Gods and Earth, was of course around in the 50s. They branched off of the Nation of Islam. So around about the 50s or whatever, you started seeing Nation of Gods and Earth. In 1963, Minister Clarence founded the 5% Nation. So it had to be some leading up to the founding of it. When he founded the matter of fact, let me find a picture of Clarence the 13 just so we can have him on the screen while we talk too. Thank you everybody tuning in. We about to give y'all some history, some sacred geometry. We about to blow you away today. All right, let's take a look at Clarence here. If you give me a minute, I can make that accessible to you guys just for your convenience. So hold on just a minute and I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up for you. Bam, there you go. Let you guys kind of share my screen with me. Okay, so we can just have a look at Clarence. You know what I'm saying? And what I'll do, so you guys can put the face with the guy that I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Thanks for y'all patience, by the way. We're going to go into the occult side of hip hop, but we got to start here with the history of the Nation of Gods and Earth, because what I'm trying to do is also give y'all some knowledge of the 5% Nation. One thing you need to get in your mind right now is that there is a religion you don't know about, and that is the worship of Saturn. Well, many of you may do know about it. I'm sorry. So many celebrities worship Saturn, and they worship Saturn in many forms. One of the traditional forms that many of you know about is the Baphomet. But that's just a very, everybody know about that one, all right? Let's kind of step our game up and dig a little deeper. Go into the many forms of Saturn worship so you can see how they are synonymous with groups like the 5% Nation. Now, the 5% Nation may not, like I said, these guys may not go around saying, I worship Saturn. Saturn is my God. Just like it's deeper knowledge to these schools of thoughts, to their symbolism and everything, that the regular members just not going around researching and aware of. It's degrees of knowledge. So what I'm giving you today ain't the basic stuff. It's going a little bit deeper into them degrees. So just bear with me, all right? Here is Clarence the 13. We still in our introductory phase of this. We ain't turned up yet. But if you bear with me, we're going to go somewhere that's going to blow you away. So as you look at Clarence, another name for Clarence was Allah. So a lot of the 5% Nation members call him Allah or Father. Keep that in mind. His name was Father. He was deified in a way, which is very normal. Nothing wrong with it, Now, one thing I want to point out about Allah, the deity itself, is that Allah is a form of Saturn. And in Masonic lodges and in Masonic schools of thoughts, the Grand Masters the history of the Grand Masters are passed on through deification, mythologicizing a person. Every lord and every religion is really the personification of the lineages of grand masters, popes, basically the pyramid of rulers. So when we say the word Illuminati, it translates to illuminated ones, but what makes them illuminated? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Understanding supreme mathematics is breaking down the symbol that the number represents, Every number is a symbol, and supreme mathematics is about breaking down the symbol, not the numerical value, even though the numerical value can be synchronized to the symbol. So we're going to talk about what Clarence the Third, what Clarence the 13 knew, because he didn't create supreme mathematics. Supreme mathematics cannot be created. It's something you tap into. So shout out to the great Clarence the 13. Rest in peace to Clarence the 13. He tapped into the same energy that I'm tapping into right now, which is the fractal code of the cosmos. And later I'll be showing you how that ties into the creation of music, the invention of, you say, how do they create a whole nother genre of music? Well, somebody invented rock and roll. Somebody invented hip hop. And in order to create a genre of music, you have to be a supreme mathematician, buddy. Every rapper is a mathematician. You have to really understand math to know when to take breaths, how to count bars and measurement, timing. Everybody can go to school to become a math professor, but not everyone can be a musician. So when we talk about supreme mathematics, we're talking about the abstract aspect of math, not the concrete values, because it's the abstract that we call infinity. And from that becomes the concrete or definitive reality. This is the knowledge of the occult that hip hoppers may or may not be aware of, but I'm gonna be showing you the connections within the symbolism. So now that we're talking a little bit about Clarence, he was in the United States Army, and like I said, he was a member of the Nation of Islam. He was brought into the NOI through his wife. Okay, so she eventually convinced him to come on in. He grew a liking to it, got in it, but disagreed like men do. So he formed his own thing, Nation of Gods and Earth. And we went over that. Now we're going to be talking about the Nation of Gods and Earth, who many call the 5% nation. And we're going to be breaking down why a group called the 5% nation have the number 7 for their symbol, because that may confuse some of y'all. So the 5% nation, sometimes referred to as the Nation of Gods and Earth, is a movement founded in 1964 in the Harlem section of the borough of Manhattan, New York City, by Clarence Edward Smith, a former member of the NOI, who took the name Clarence the 13X and ultimately came to be known as Allah the Father. So a lot of rappers worship this father in a lot of their lyrics. I was a fan of Wu-Tang Clan. Most of them are 5% nation. I know RZA is, and we'll be talking about him. The name Zigzag Zigala is another name of Clarence. Like I said, Allah can be seen as a title when you deal with it this way. It's a way of deifying a great fatherly figure. And that's all God is. So this is, again, every black man is a God. Every man is a God, if you ask me. But I'm giving you the teachings of the 5% nation. They says that the black man and black woman are the fathers and the parents of civilization. Now, to say that is also to align yourself with Darwinism, the Yakub theory, and Scientology. If you followed Brother Sanchez's recent videos on the Nation of Islam and me debunking the Yakub theory, well, the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Gods and Earth, being a branch of the Nation of Islam, subscribes to the Yakub theory. Not saying all members do, but this is when you ask them how are the black man and black woman the gods of the other races, a lot of them will refer back to the original Yakub theory that the Nation of Islam give us, because they are a branch. They came from the Nation of Islam. They didn't abandon all of the teachings. In particular, the ones that founded the NGEs were the ones I mentioned earlier about what Clarence disagreed with Elijah Muhammad about. So there's a lot of things we can talk about the 5% nation in particular, and also Clarence the 13. But today ain't gonna be really about the history of the 5% Nation. I just had to give you an introduction to it before I get into their symbolism, so you can see that they symbolism was born from the Nation of Islam. All right, and it's a little bit slightly different than the Nation of Islam, but when we get into it, we will be making the connections. All right, so there's a couple of things I want to share with you before we go deep into this. Clarence founded the 5% Nation in the 50s. And something else that was going on in the 50s, if you just bear with me, I got a lot to share, so I'm going to be skipping through a bunch of stuff like this to find what I'm looking for. See, we got a lot of deep stuff to get into, you see. See, this is the price I pay for not being organized too. Now, hold on a second, everybody. Let me get the second portion of the slides ready, and we're going to continue. Hit the like button. All right, I had to refresh some things for you. Said that I had low output on my video. We're going to keep this moving. Now, let me find what I'm looking for, and we'll keep it right on going. Thank y'all for being patient with me. I told you earlier that it would take me a minute to access certain slides, so I didn't want to make you expect nothing that, you know, wasn't going to be in the stream. So just bear with me because I got so much to go over, but I want to do it organized. It's disorganized on my end, but I'm going to give it to you. When I give it to you, it's going to be organized. So bear with me now. Damn. Hold on, people. So there were many other schools of thought that were founded in the 50s along with the Nation of Gods and Earth. And I'm trying to find them for you. I had a whole page of them. If you bear with me, I'll get it back for you. Okay, here we go. I found them. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I found them. Thank y'all for being patient. Here we go. So one thing I want to point out about the 5% Nation, and let me grab this while I I don't want to lose it. So let's get on with this. So now one thing about the 5% Nation right off the bat, we're going to start getting into their symbolism at this time. Sorry about the little tech issue. The colors black and gold are Masonic. The colors black and gold can be traced back to the first ruling pharaohs of Kemet because Freemasonry started in Kemet. The peasantry system that we live in started in Kemet. They say that civilization started in Kemet, but what started in Kemet was capitalism, the dollar, the coin, the money, taxation, systems of vanity and luxury started in Kemet. In fact, the root word of luxury is Luxor, and that comes from a city that was just near Kemet, Luxor, Egypt. Luxor, Egypt is the root word of luxury. So this vain lifestyle of bling bling and gold and, new clothes and money, capitalism, it comes from Kemet. And there's a reason why there's a pyramid on the back of your dollar. So right now we're just talking about the black and gold that's associated with the 5% Nation. It's the same black and gold of your founding fathers. I can show it to you now. George Washington Mason. The people that founded this capitalist country were indeed Freemasons. And I'm showing you the connection that they have today through hip hop, stuff like that. So when you see these guys with the black and gold on, the black and gold is the colors of the original bee goddesses. But those bee goddesses were replaced when we went from a matriarchal spiritual system to the patriarchs that you see here. But they still wear the black and gold, and the knowledge of the goddesses became occult. Now, what is that knowledge? I will be blowing you away today when I get into the knowledge of the goddesses and sync them with the occult side of hip hop. Just bear with me. Now, I just want to show you a little bit about the 5% nation. Now, who is the god Saturn? Because Masons worship the god Saturn. That is the Baphomet. The 5% nations is influenced by Freemasonry. The 5% nation is heavily influenced by Freemasonry. And they also worship the god Saturn in their own ways, whether the members know it or not. See the black and gold? Now, the Saturn is associated with a 5-pointed star, and you can see it right there on the 5% nation symbol. Now, they tell you that they call themselves 5%ers because, you know, it's only 5% of the people who awaken. The real reason they're called 5% is because the 5 is the number associated with the god Satan or Saturn. And the name Allah is the same name Satan. And whenever you want to sync these gods with the numerical value of 5, you just count the letters in their name. So another version of Saturn was a scary guy by the name of Candyman who carried the hook. So we see another form of Saturn is the Reaper. And the letters in the name is 5 letters. Reaper is 5 letters. Allah is 5 letters. Jesus is 5 letters. You say Candyman's name 5 times, and he wore black and gold. He carried the hook of the Reaper, and we'll be getting into that hook later because that's what this number 7 is. So everything I'm showing you right now about the 5% nation, it can be directly synced to the god Saturn and the Baphomet so far. And also Scientology, which is, see, there's a different forms of Baphomet worship for different people. Just like when you listen to rock and roll music, you say it's for white people, you say hip hop is for black people, but they both sell you the same culture of capitalism. In the rock and roll arena, they're selling the fancy Harley Davidson, the expensive pickup, you know, the Humvee, you know, they selling a different products of capitalism. Whereas you may flip over to the hip hoppers, they selling you the Benz, the Moet, the Lexus. Everybody works for the corporations, and all of the logos are corruptions of the Great Mother, and that's how they become this she-male deity called a Baphomet. And that is another form of Saturn, this Baphomet. So you see that the Scientology symbol is indeed the nations of gods and earth. Why, Brother Sanchez? Brother Sanchez, why do the nation of gods and earth got the same symbol as Scientology? Because they both come from the nation of Islam. They both are branches of the nation of Islam. What am I telling you? That according to my research, the nations of gods and earth under Clarence the 13th were the first Scientology school that the Nation of Islam gave birth to and pushed from their womb as a separate entity. The second one was under Ron Hale Hubbard. So you got to have a black form of it and a white form of it, but it's all Dianetics, because in Scientology, it's about connecting the self with the Most High. It's about connecting the micro with the macro. At the end of the day, it's the same thing with different cultures on it. Like Hinduism ain't nothing but Christianity, Asian with an Asian face. It's just the same teachings for different people. So if you know, most white people may gravitate with Scientology, but you know, Scientology has been taught to the black man in the form of the 5% nation. It will be the same concepts that Scientology is teaching today. And I'll be breaking down those concepts, showing you how man is self-lord and master of your own reality, and what connects you to the cosmic source, the universal source. These symbols in front of you tell the story, but I haven't got into them yet. I want to crawl for a walk. So the 7 represents the Reaper's hook. Now I want to talk about the Reaper. Here's another form of the Reaper, an African form, which is basically the oldest form. His name is Papa Lekba. Again, this is Candyman. I'm not going to be redundant because I did so many videos on this deity. But I'm showing you how his symbolism is incorporated into the 5% nation. The numbers, listen, when you deal with the 5% nation, what'll throw you off is if you look at these numbers as numerical values. When you deal with the 5% nation, they don't deal with numbers like, okay, 5 is the number after 4. 6 is, give me 6 pieces of chicken. No, it ain't no numerical. Supreme mathematics is about looking at the shape of the number, the sacred geometry of the number, what it represents on a cosmological level. So when you look at that 7, the reason why 7 means completion is because 7 has always been associated as the hook of the Reaper. Here is Saturn, the Reaper. Here is the number 7. Now, why is the number, how can you prove that Brother Sanchez know what he's talking about? The number 7 is related to the word severed. All right, if you cut somebody's head off, you severed their head off. If you cut them up, you broke them into several pieces. When you smash something and break it or shatter it, you sever it. So the severing and the number 7 is related because the number 7 represents the place in the cosmos where everything breaks down and get chops up. That's called an ether. The ether is the Reaper. It's called an ether because it's really the eater. Let me show it to you. This is called an ether. And it represents infinity. It represents decomposition. When you die, you disappear. Over time, you decompose. And the ancestors personified that in a patriarchal, in a occult way as a god Saturn chopping you up with the 7 blade. 7 meaning completion. Decomposition is Reaper. And this is another symbol of Saturn. This can be synced to magnetism and the tetrahedron in the hexagon, which we will be doing today if you bear with me. All right. So it's called an ether because it's the eater. It eats itself. You are like a snake that eats yourself when you are dying and constantly being reincarnated, decomposing and putting it back together again. So it's that simple. So the number 7 came to be associated with the god of Scientology, Allah, which is the Reaper. I'm giving you another side of Saturn. I just showed you the ether, and here is Saturn's cube. You can see how the ether tie into that because it severs the cube in the middle, or it splits the cube. That splitting is called a great severing and can be seen as the vault of heaven when you look at ancient cosmology. So the severing takes place where Jesus broke the bread at. There's always a separation. So the month September is related to the word separate. Septos is 7, where the months become separate from the divine. See, if Augustus and July wouldn't have added their months, you would see why the month of September would have had so much power, because it represents the ending of one phase of the year and the beginning of the lesser half of the year, or the darker half, where the ancestors would have been doing their witch festivals, which is nothing to be scared of. It was just festivals that connected them with the darker half of nature, the decomposition. That became Halloween, scary movies. During Halloween time, you look at monsters rip people up and slash each other with knives, because these monsters like Freddy Krueger and Jason actually represents Saturn, the Reaper, which severs you up. It's nothing to be scared of. Everyone goes into this darkness when we get decomposed so that the energy can be reconnected in the womb of another earth. So the women in the nation of gods and earth call themselves earths, because what connects us to the earth is the woman. That's what takes that body of a saw and put it back together again. So this is the Kemetic story of Osiris. But like I said, Freemasonry started in Kemet. So what am I telling you? Yes, this stuff started to be hidden from regular people. So that's why videos that teach it to you got a code in it. You know, it ain't going to be that many views, you know. But it's still hidden knowledge today. It's not popular. So you see the symbolism of the 5% nation with the god Saturn here. You see the 5% nation star behind his head, and you see the number 7. This is Saturn. So when you deal with the 5% nation, the number 7 is not a numerical value. It's supreme mathematics, it's sacred geometry. There's a word associated with the number 7 that the 5% use for their daily supreme mathematics. Each number can be broken down to a word like Lord, Master, stuff like that. But this is different. I'm giving you the cosmological aspect of the number that supreme mathematics do not cover. So what you got to realize is that the number 7 is not a numerical value. It's a sacred geometrical symbol that is directly connected to the Reaper. And you can see that with this 5% nation symbolism, because the 7 is the hook that the Reaper carried, and this is the symbol of the Reaper himself. In other words, this little 5-pointed star is the Reaper. That's the Baphomet. If you look at the Baphomet, you can see that on his forehead is the 5-pointed star that you see with the nation of gods and earth. You say, Brother Sanchez, how does the number 7 tie into the Baphomet? If you look at the Baphomet, what is the Baphomet telling you? The Baphomet is telling you about separation. The Baphomet is splitting the yin from the yang to create order out of chaos, or divide and conquer. The Baphomet is a patriarchal deity that represents the dividing of the yin yang. Those arches represents the yin and the yang. When the patriarch took over, they separated the yin from the yang to create division, divide and conquer. It happened on a spiritual level first. So this Baphomet is related to the number 7 because he represents the separation of time. This God represents Jesus, the one that separated time, AD from BC, the time split. That time split is synonymous when the yin was separated from the yang on the spiritual level. And when they told you that civilization started in Egypt 3100 BC, no, what happened was the patriarchs breaking off from the matriarch and calling themselves, they wanted to personify themselves as the goddess. So the goddess became the goat, which is the uterus. The uterus. So we'll be talking about the goddesses later and how this tie into matriarchy. But this goat is related to the number 7 because this goat is Saturn. And instead of it having a hook, it's just telling you I'm slicing it up with my hands, you know. It represents splitting or separation or severing, the yin being severed from the yang. And if you look at this Baphomet hands, let me show you something. Now the hand sign of the 5% nation. A shout out to my brother, Lord Jamar. I'm not, trying to say that he's some Satan worshiper and nothing like that. Like I said, a lot of these guys are just It's different to regular people. Like a cat like Lord Jamar might just look at the brothers, the affiliation. Hey, them cats ain't probably looking into no Baphomet shit or nothing like that. They probably is, but they probably making the connections I'm making. What I'm trying to say is everybody that do certain things may not know why they do it. So you don't really want to jump the gun and, oh, he's worshiping the Baphomet. But if you look at his hands, that is the symbol of the 5% nation. And if you look at the Baphomet hands, that's the way that the Baphomet hold his hands as well. So I'm just teaching the 5% nation the Baphomet connection of their symbolism in case they didn't know. You know, don't mean you got to stop doing it or whatever. Just mean, hey, this is something that you can incorporate. You see now that all roads basically lead back to the Baphomet. So that symbol that the 5% nation do with their hands, again, it represents, it originally come from the Baphomet. Now you go back to the 5% nation symbol, again, that 7 represents severing. Severing is splitting. 7, sever, sever. And that's what this God represents, the severing of your consciousness. Divide and conquer on all levels. Detaching you from Mother Nature, detaching the husband from the wife, detaching the children from the parent. That is the system that you live in today, a Baphomet system. It started in Kemet, this capitalist system. So I'm letting you know that America is more than a culture and a nation. It's a religion. Money is a religion. That's why when you look at the American dollar, it has many religious symbols on it. You didn't know? See, the God that they worship is the Baphomet, which is Saturn. And that's the God that they have a trust with. So rich people worship money, literally. But now let's talk about the word trust so that you can understand what trust means on a spiritual level. And we'll get into some more sacred geometry. And then we'll call out some of these awesome super chats, man, because I appreciate y'all lovely folks. So trust, because on your money, it says, in God we trust. But do you really know what trust means? Because all of these gods that they forcing people to worship around the world require your trust. You can't serve Jesus without trust. Can't serve Allah without trust. Can't deal with money on a millionaire level without trust. And then the word trust becomes something different in finances. So the system of capitalism is a religious system. The trust fund is the 10% that the pastor asked for. That's the taxes. The original gods of the earth were the pharaohs who taxed the people. You can still see that taxation in the Christian church in the form of 10%. That's the 10% that's secluded from the 85 and the 5. They said that 85 is the sleeping giant. 5% know the truth and the 10% run the world. That's the 10% that they take from the collection plate. This is symbolism. You got to look at that 10 as symbolic. This is supreme mathematics I'm giving you. The number 10 is also associated with Saturn, because Saturn represents the binary code. And the number 10 is the binary code, 1 and 0. I told you we was going to get deep today. Now, let's talk about trust, because rich people have a trust. The more money you get, the more you have to be controlled, and the more the controllers need to trust you, be able to trust you. So there are all kind of rituals to prove your trust, and they get to be very graphic. We ain't going to go into them now, but the people that want to prove their trust to the Baphomet or to the rulers do some sick things, all the way up into blood sacrifice of their own family members, just to show that these rich men, you can trust me. Look, I killed my own mother for you. So I know you trust me now, right? With millions and millions. So there's a reason why a lot of multi-millionaires rose to power right after tragedies happen. You know, you can get into the whole blood sacrifice thing on your own. It's a lot of content out there on that. So what is trust? Trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Of course, that's a basic definition. In law, it is an arrangement whereby a person or a trustee holds property. Excuse me. This is what I wanted to have up. So it's an arrangement whereby a person or a trustee holds property as its nominal owner for the good of one or more beneficiaries. So we know that our law system today is corrupted. And when you read that, this shows you how knowledge became occult. Let me read it again, and I need you to practice reading comprehension. Trust is also, when you deal with occult secrets, listen to me. What did Jay-Z say? Jay-Z said in the lyrics, we're a secret society. All we ask is trust. Who remember that? If you remember those lyrics, put the song and the other lyrics he said before that with it in the chat room. Some of my hip hop heads out there, salute to the first person that find that song. Jay-Z said, we're a secret society. All we ask is trust. Trust is a deep word in the occult rituals and Freemasonry. In schools like Thelema, Aleister Crowley, 5% Nation, trust is very important, and it's on a spiritual level, like how one trusts Jesus to be their savior in the afterlife. This gets very deep because that savior in the afterlife is the reaper or the God of the crossroads. Another form of him was Papa Lekba. But all of the symbolism you see on that dollar is associated with Saturn, and America is still a culture that worships the Baphomet and Saturn in a form of capitalism. So let me break down on you what trust is when it comes to occult knowledge. It's an arrangement whereby a person holds property that will be intellectual property, knowledge that will free you. We said knowledge is power. Who are the ones holding all of the damn knowledge? The people calling themselves the illuminated ones. And they won't share it with nobody but who the people they can trust in their little cliques. See, what make Brother Sanchez a threat is I'm sharing it with everybody. And I don't care what happened to me for sharing it. So listen to, when you read the definition of trust, you got to realize who's making these definitions. Let me read it again, because this is the law definition. It's an arrangement whereby a person holds property as its nominal owner for the good of one or more beneficiaries. This is another way of saying we're going to hold knowledge away from the masses because it's for their own good. Only a few of us need to know the truth. And the few people that know the truth and got the knowledge, we need to be able to trust each other to keep everybody else a sleeping giant. People, this is it. Okay? So you're looking at trust from another perspective here, and you see why on that money is say, in God we trust. But who is God? God ain't a person. God is a lineage of rulers, starting with the first one in Kemet, the First Family. That was a rap group called First Family. Why do you think they call themselves that? The First Family is the family of the Baphomet. The Baphomet was the very first pharaoh to rule the New World Order. The Baphomet was the very first pharaoh to rule the New World Order. You can see his symbols on the dollar. We still worship him. America is a Greco-Egyptian nation. It was never just a Greek nation. It was always and will always be a Greco-Egyptian nation. So now what we're going to do at this time is take just 7 minutes, and we're going to look at an interview from Prodigy, the rapper Prodigy, who recently died, where he was exposing the Illuminati right before he died. And what he's going to be telling you in this interview is basically the power that they tapping into, this Saturn energy that they tapping into. It's a universal energy. It ain't necessarily good or bad, but a person can use it for good or bad, and they're using it for bad. So when you listen to Prodigy, he's basically going to be teaching you a bunch of stuff that I be teaching y'all. And it'll also explain why this young brother came to an abruptly death. See, when these influential rappers start exposing the Illuminati on an occult level, like how Tupac was doing, something happened to him. Some shit happened to him. Now let's listen to Prodigy interview before he died.
Hey, what's up? I'm here to show you how you can develop.
You got this power that people call God. There's many names for it. Allah, God, the Creator, the Most High. But the power exists. Some people, they don't like to admit that power exists, or they just don't believe it. They're atheists, you know what I mean? But me personally, I know there's a higher power, and you know, that power is real. That power is like, it's one force, right? It's one God force on this planet, and we are given free will to do what we want with that power. You could use that power for good, and then you could use that power for evil too.
Now, I don't want to keep interrupting his interview because a lot of people don't like it when you keep hitting pause and interjecting. So I'm going to try to make this very limited. What he's telling you right now is basically how they tap into universal energies to benefit themselves and bring power to themselves. Now, Kanye West did a video called Power, and what I'm gonna do, you hearing Prodigy tell you what they do, and after he's done, I'm gonna show you how they do it. So, I mean, buckle up your seatbelts, folks, because we're gonna go on a ride, and the stuff that I'm gonna be showing you gonna blow you away. Because right now, you hearing Prodigy telling you what they do. But when this interview is over, Brother Sanchez is gonna show you exactly how they do it. And that's when I'm gonna, blow you away. So let me just take this back, and I promise you I won't interrupt them again. We'll watch the 7-minute interview without my interruption.
You got this power that people call God. There's many names for it. Allah, God, the Creator, the Most High. But the power exists. Some people, they don't like to admit that power exists, or they just don't believe it. They're atheists, you know what I mean? But me personally, I know there's a higher power, and you know, that power is real. That power is like, it's one force, right? It's one God force on this planet. And we are given free will to do what we want with that power. You could use that power for good, and then you could use that power for evil too. But there's only one power. So when people say the God and the devil, no, there's only one. But you could use that force for bad. That's what these people are playing with. They're playing with that energy that exists out here that we all have access to.
Prodigy, what's going on, man?
What up, kid?
Chilling, man.
Good to see you.
You know, you asked me to come up here and meet you. We're gonna have this talk. But where are we right now, man? Can you tell us where we're at? Can we say?
We actually in a home of a friend of mine, Cynthia. She does these immersive plays. I'm actually a part of one of them, and we're working on another one. But the original one that we worked on is called the Illuminati Ball. Okay. And we actually do it here in the house.
So we're in the Illuminati house?
Basically, yeah. I
want to take it all the way back to the beginning. 1995 was the first time I ever heard about the Illuminati. It was in the verse. You were on LL Cool J's I Shot Ya remix. And you said, Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the army.
I don't know if we all knew what you meant at the time. I know it started a trend where then every rapper started using Illuminati in their rhymes.
Yeah.
For you, when you first wrote that lyric, what was going on in your head? What was the message you were really trying to convey?
You know, I grew up in Long Island until I was like 12. And then I moved to Queens, I moved to Left Right. But in Long Island, they had the gods and the earths, you know, like the 5% Nation, the Nation of Islam. It's not the same thing, but affiliated in a way. It always was intriguing to me because they was out there hustling and doing their thing, but at the same time, they had a lot of knowledge. Mm-hmm. I had a group of friends in school, and we were all interested in this information, and we were actually cut out of school to go to the library because we realized that school wasn't teaching us about the history of our culture and our people. I had bumped into some other books that these Muslim brothers used to sell on the streets. The author was Dr. Malachi Z. York. His books just opened my eyes even wider. Simple things like when you say amen after you pray, like where does that come from? Like the origin of the Bible, the origin of the Quran. And I came across the word Illuminati. I wanted to put what I was learning into the music, but I didn't want to turn the fans off. So I decided to like plant seeds. People not gonna understand what I'm talking about yet, but it's gonna make them curious.
About a year later, after this song comes out, Jay-Z drops his debut Reasonable Doubt, and on it he has a song called The Evils, produced by DJ Premier.
Right.
And they sample your line, Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
And then from there, I mean, you name it, everyone from Jay-Z to Kanye West, Drake, Meek Mill, Rick Ross, Kendrick Lamar. We're talking about Beyonce and Madonna has talked about the Illuminati in their lyrics.
Beyonce line was crazy too.
Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess.
Cause I'm like, is she taking a shot? Or is she doing what I did? Like, you know what I mean? Just like putting it in there. I don't know. It's interesting to see her even say that in a song.
What is the Illuminati? Like, if you could break down what it is that we're actually talking about when we say Illuminati.
It's a group that was formed like in the 1700s, something like that, 1600s. This dude named Adam Weishaupt. He started this group of people, like powerful, rich people that basically could shape popular opinion and the way, you know, the world is gonna move forward. The word means like the illuminated ones. Light is like information. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you see the light now. I found out the origin of the information that they were teaching. It basically comes from this group called the Essenes in Egypt. These are like the original black culture. They're like the scholars, doctors, scientists, esoteric thinkers, and they just knew how to do stuff. Like, for example, look at the pyramids. Nobody understands how the pyramids were built. These are the people that had that knowledge. Eye of Horus, the pyramid, those are artifacts and things from black culture. They represent certain things of our people from ancient black history of Egypt. You know what I mean? Ancient Egypt. You got these group of people, they break into the tombs, they steal the riches, like the gold and the mummies, and they rape and pillage our culture. They got you thinking your own people and your own artifacts and your own symbolism is evil.
You know, it's funny, okay, we talked about this journey that started 20 years ago, even beyond that, because it goes back to when you were in high school and you were learning, but you first dropped the lyric 21 years ago. And you have a new album coming out where these themes start to come into play again. The Hegelian Dialectic is the name of the new album, the Hegelian Dialectic. Talk to me about this album.
It's basically like my magnum opus type of album. When I first dropped that seed, from that point on, I would keep dropping little seeds here and there, just building up to the point where we can have a full conversation about this. I didn't know when it was gonna happen. I didn't know what I was gonna call the project, but this has been planned since I was 19.
Definitely like a lot of information on this album and things that even on the surface, like, again, you know what I'm saying? I think people might approach No Religion and be like, oh, he used the Jay-Z sample.
Young niggas that blasphemy, no religion. Young niggas that blasphemy, no religion.
And it's dope how it connects to the Evils and connects to Illuminati.
Nah, that was like a straight shout out. Like, I love Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? Even though we went through our little bullshit, whatever, that's...
Brotherhood of elite rappers.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Word.
But, you know, it's a deeper meaning as well, so you use that as the icing on the cake of...
Right.
There's a whole thing under that of what
yeah.
you're trying to say. And I think throughout this album, man. But I definitely appreciate you for your time and the information and the clarity.
Shit, thank you, man, for even wanting to do this. Like, you know.
Rest in peace to the God Prodigy. You know, I used to like saying, what up, God, 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 God. And I owe that to Clarence the 13. I guess we can attribute that to the nation of gods and earth. Did they start that? You know, what up, God? Seemed like they started that. But anyway, what I want to point out as we move on is a little bit of what Prodigy was saying in his interview. What he said was basically at 30 seconds into the interview, he said they tapping into an energy, and this energy is a neutral energy. And that this energy can be used basically to exercise your free will. Now, this should sound familiar to a lot of people. We see the connection between Prodigy and Jay-Z. And when we talk about tapping into a power that would allow one to basically exercise their free will, we can go right into the teachings of Aleister Crowley, which is the founder of Scientology in a way. Let's start talking about Jay-Z, who's a 5%er. And let's talk about do what thou wilt, because that's what Prodigy was telling you. Prodigy was telling you about a power that they was tapping into. This is how occultists think. Let every man that can be deceived, be deceived. Do what thou wilt. There's a group of people that found out we ain't gonna go to hell for real, but they forgot karma is real. That's gonna get them. But because ain't no repercussions, basically, they, deceiving, misleading the masses. In other words, the purpose of every human is to amplify the source of the creation. And everything we do is supposed to, if you amplifying or glorifying yourself, you can only glorify yourself because you are, because the creator is. So what it is what these guys do, how they become gods. They got millions of people worshiping them subconsciously, where in the natural world, the musicians and entertainers of our society would be using their talents and gifts to reconnect us closer to Mother Nature, that which sustains us all. Not to connect us with Belvedere, not to connect us with platinum, not to connect us with, Cartier, Rolex. This is, I gotta keep it real. This is what the rappers connect you with. This is what these gods connect you to. So your power then becomes from brands and logos, and these logos are all symbols of Saturn. And you pay big time money for them too. So they do what thou wilt with the minds of your children. That same American eagle that's on your dollar, the God they trust, is right here. This is the American eagle, folks. It's the bird of Thelema. This is the sacred bird Christians call the Holy Ghost. It's the Horus Ghost. We're going to talk a little bit about Kanye West in a minute, and about this Kemetic movement. Everybody glorifying Egypt and glorifying pharaohs. Even Prodigy said, this stuff can be traced back to Egypt, and because his knowledge was limited at that time. Egypt ain't nothing to be proud of. Pharaoh represent the beginning of peasantry. Before him, there was no such thing as a peasant or a poor class, until they created this rich class, this royal family. That inevitably created a what? Poor class. Very simple. It was a pendulum change. And it happened around 3100 BC, but it led up to that through the proto-dynastic period. Today, everybody glorify Egypt, but why? Why is a pyramid on your dollar? Why are the colors of masonry black and gold? Why is the symbol of Freemasonry the bee? The bee in black and gold are the symbols of Freemasonry. Now, guess who else was a famous 5%er? Not him, not him, not her. We'll talk about them later. Him. His name is RZA. One of my favorite producers. He the one who robotized hip-hop production. I used to love Bobby Digital. Then I realized now that, it was kind of sci-fi programming. His music was literally the sci-fi on a CD. I mean, you put in a Bobby Digital album, he making the noises, and it sounded like some space age shit. And I was addicted to it. It sounded like some futuristic shit. Like, when nobody making the sound that this guy RZA made, he was tapping into some shit, man. This inspiration came from somewhere. So understand that these musicians are inspired by something deeper than what y'all know. And it's pure talent on one hand, but how does listen to the sounds, the pitch of the music. When you listen, see, and this is what I want to point out about Wu-Tang. Now, what Wu-Tang Clan did in a lot of their lyricism was they made you idolize a lot of Greek philosophers. Now, a lot of the, I bomb atomically, Socrates philosophies, like Socrates was a Greco-Egyptian philosopher. Hold on, people, we about to get deep when I sync the Wu-Tang symbolism to the Freemasonry symbolism and show you about the killer bees. 1 second, we'll be right back after these messages. All right, people, like I said, we're going to go over the Wu-Tang. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So, like we said, Freemasonry started in Kemet. The worship of the bees and the black and gold come from the Old Kingdom. From the Old Kingdom came the Baphomet. Remember, your first royal families came out of that Old Kingdom. And what made them the world's first royal families is the monopolization of knowledge at that time. There were wars that led up to the Greeks unifying with the Egyptians and creating the first world union of superpowers. And those two still rule the world today. That's why I told you America is a Greco-Egyptian country. So that's why people like Wu-Tang Clan would, for example, say in their lyrics, Socrates' philosophies, because a lot of the philosophers that came up out of Kemet, a lot of them were Greeks too. There were Greek pharaohs too. There was years where the Greeks ruled with the Egyptians, and this is a part of history that the occultists don't like to talk about, because one thing about occult knowledge is divide and conquer, and they don't want to be letting all these different shades of poor people realize that the royal families were united. That's what the United Nations is. So it first started off with the first two superpowers being Greek and Egypt. That's why I'm showing you the god of the American capitalist system, and which is that first pharaoh. They founded this system that they still governing us under today of capitalism. And rappers are the main perpetuators of capitalism. I'm going to say that again, because there's a reason Rolex don't make commercials, folks. There's a reason Belvedere don't make no damn commercials, or Cristal don't make no commercials. Rappers are the #1 tools in a society that's going to determine what brands get bought and all of that kind of shit. And they are the #1 influencers of the economy. Rappers, musicians, entertainers, open up your mind, people, and understand how deep this thing is, all right? So, what is a brand but a symbol? Because I can sell you a Jordan without the Jordan on it, and you wouldn't take it. But if I put the symbol on it, you'll say it's official. Understanding why symbols are so powerful will give you secrets of marketing, branding, logos. Why a dude can have the exact same shoe as you, same material, and sell it for $1,000 more just because his logo look better on the material, more flush. Look at that Nike check, it's so clean. There's a reason, but symbolism is what rule the world. If you haven't known, it's the silent language that rules us all. We talk about symbolism a lot on this channel. And today we're going to be dealing with it in the form of the Wu-Tang Clan and Freemasonry at this time. So, you know, I used to rock a lot of Wu wear, man, in my day. But what basically, if you want to talk about science, electromagnetism is what they're personifying with this Baphomet energy. But like Prodigy said, now ain't nothing wrong with electromagnetic energy. The way they use it to amplify themselves is what's wrong. And I told you that I was going to show you how that's done. So, and I told you I was going to break down killer bees. Well, their symbolism is simple. Black and gold is Masonic. The bees is Masonic. You see that RZA is a 5%er. You see he's a 5%er. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of this stuff off. Now, I'm going to keep the Wu-Tang symbol up a minute. Now, here's Katy Perry into Comedicism. Understand that the Comedic people was into the Kabbalah. If you were living a Comedic civilization right now, if I can take you to ancient Kemet, what their religion would have been, we call it Kabbalah today. The Kemetic tree of life is the Kabbalah tree of life. When you say Kabbalah, the word Allah is in it. And that's why I'm syncing this with the 5% nation, because that's the name of their God, Allah. Now, it's how you interpret this neutral energy. A lot of these groups that I'm calling out now, they interpret this energy in a Baphometic form, a way that glorify themselves. And what that does is it takes away from the collective spirit. It creates a capitalist spirit, all about me. So celebrities use symbolism to personify themselves as gods, and subconsciously you worship them or celebrate them. That's why they call a celebrity. We celebrate them. Now, we once celebrated Mother Nature and her life-giving resources and elements, that which sustain us and our children. We celebrate it. But now we'll celebrate a rapper more than a running river system or a waterfall. We'll pollute the earth basically and celebrate other things, brands, logos that destroy the earth in order to even make this stuff. But I'm just showing you on a small level of what's going on with the world, but also how all celebrities worship the all-seeing eye of Saturn. That's what that eye is on your dollar. This is the God that they have a trust with. Now, I just read to you what trust means. All of these folks enter a certain tax bracket that most of you never gonna get in, so you don't understand what kind of trust this is. When you start to need certain accounts and Swiss bank accounts and certain lawyers and certain shit, you got to make certain, you got to involve certain people in your life just because you got a certain amount of money that you wouldn't have had in your life. And you got to basically develop trust with a lot of people, man, with the handling of all this damn money you got. That's when they come to you with the different schools of mind control and, hey, how about we can, you know, becoming a billionaire? See, these folks got handlers. And the people who move up the ladder are the ones who the powers that be can trust the most. And Jay-Z is a very trustworthy person. You got to think about it. Now, he started off with Memphis Bleak, Beanie Siegel, brought a lot of cats from the hood, quote unquote, that wouldn't have got on. But after that, he got the fuck on. And you see him with Warren Buffett and all them billionaire, white folks. Because he said, hey, even though I may be from Marcy, if I want to get paid, I got to develop a relationship and a trust with a different kind of people. So I gotta take these damn construction wheat Tim boots off. And I know this damn New York hat look good put over my eyes because I want to rep Brooklyn, but I gotta take that shit off. And Jay-Z took off that goddamn big ass coat and put his pants up and put on him a suit and got away from niggas and started developing a trust, with some different kind of more powerful people. And we see that because of that, he's in a very powerful place today. Because it's all like, hey, it's a secret society. All we ask is trust, all right? He told you that. Now, this is from Hard to Learn, Star Brand, Night Mask. What was this, a hip-hop Marvel variant cover? This was from Gangstar, I think. I can't be quite sure, but it's dope. But what we looking at, is 5% Nation symbolism. You see the 5% Nation star, the crescent moon. This is all the symbol of Saturn. This is Saturn symbolism or Scientology symbolism. We just beginning. So this all saying I again, if you look at my video, Fetty Wap, the Illuminati eye ritual, a lot of people thought I was crazy. But if you look at that video today, you'll see, man, it's a lot of truth to what I was saying. The video got over 1 million views. Check it out. These guys worship Saturn, or another form of Saturn was a Greek cyclops. That is the all-seeing eye, the Greek cyclops of Saturn. So now I told you we was gonna show you exactly how they use this neutral energy to empower themselves. And I got one word for you, personification. Now we got a video here from Kanye West called Power. And if you really read between the lines, Kanye West is teaching you in the video how to generate power by personifying yourself as that which create power. Earlier, I showed you the Ouroboros, and I did it for a reason. Now, we about to go deep with the symbolism. Now, hold on to your seats, folks. Here we go. Let me pull up my Ouroboros. Now, what you're looking at now on this collage in the top left corner is Jesus, the Vesica Pisces, of course. But to the right of that is an image of an electromagnetic energy field. And that is the Earth. That is a fractal code that explains how everything is created. This can be looked at what they call a human's electric energy field, or the human's aura, is wrapped around your body like a snake. So if you look at Kanye West at the bottom, he's in the middle of a donut. An electromagnetic energy field looks like a donut. And every human generates an electromagnetic energy field all around you. So you're the hole in the middle of a donut. The body is the negative space of so you got macro and micro, space and counter space, donut and donut hole. The body represents the donut hole, that which ain't really real. It comes in and out of existence. But what's real is the soul or the aura. That's what constantly gives birth to the body. So that's a deeper science. We get into it on a lot of previous videos, but what I want to tie into the hip hop side of the occult of the laws, it's the laws of attraction. How do you make yourself attractive? This has nothing to do with physical looks. You can be the ugliest person in the world, and trust me, if you know how to manipulate symbolism, you will have women falling out when they touch your hand. And later we'll be talking about Biggie Smalls. He wasn't that attractive, but when I start breaking down you the symbolism of Big Papa and showing you how he was personifying himself as Papa Lekba, then you're gonna really be like, damn, bro, Sanchez on some shit, boy. Now check this out, because you're looking at Saturn. Saturn, this may confuse a lot of people. Saturn is not the planet that they give you for Saturn is not real. It's just a drawing of a universal symbol and concept that represents the original shape of the earth. Now, I got a lot of slides, and since I'm talking about Saturn, how about I pull up that Saturn slide so I don't lose you. Some people may not know how it all connects with Saturn. I can do that real quick. If you bear with me just 1 minute, I can open up some slides and we could do that. Now, before I get to the Saturn symbolism, what you need to look at in this collage is what I was telling you earlier, what Prodigy was talking about. Prodigy said it's a neutral energy, but they use the energy to their benefit to make themselves centers of attention. This is magnetism. Think about it. If Jay-Z show up on a street corner, hundreds of people gonna go start crowding around him. This is the secrets of the Kaaba stone at Mecca. That stone is a center of attraction at Mecca. And if you embody the secrets of that Kaaba stone in the Middle East that's attracting all them people around it, you can attract a lot of people around you. And this is what celebrities do. They use the law of attraction by understanding electromagnetism. Magnetism attract things or repel things. They're interested in attracting your dollar, attracting your energy, attracting you to them to empower themselves, not you. The people in the audience ain't getting empowered. The man who empowered is the dude on stage who finna get probably close to about 5 million for one show from ticket sales, you know. This is power. Money is their power. They siphon it out of you through idolization. People will spend their whole savings, man, for some of the stupidest shit today based upon idol worship. And what I want to point out to you in another stream, we're going to be talking about the rise of teen suicide, because I'm making a connection between the rise of children killing themselves and a lot of suicide songs that's coming out in this generation. A lot of the rappers and singers are rapping about suicide and killing themselves. And it's just a big influence on that. I'll be talking about that in the future. Stay tuned. Let's get back with Kanye West, man, because what he's doing is personifying himself as a magnetic hyperboloid. A hyperboloid is the center of magnetism. This is how you get gods like Jesus. What attracts these people to the church every Sunday? What attracts them to Christ? The symbolism associated with Christ, the mythos associated with Christ. And it all can be traced back to electromagnetism. Jesus was a personification of how electromagnetic energy moves in and around the earth. Calvary is a magnetic mountain that was mythologicized by Christians, but it was originally called Meru, and we'll be talking about that because this will go into flat earth, showing you the secrets of the occult and what exactly is being hid in these schools of thought. Now, a lot of people may not know it. Like I said, if you're a 5% Nation member, you may not have a clue about flat earth. Now, I know Jamar knows, because shout out to the brother. He said he's been looking at a lot of my information. And he's been trying to have the brothers be open-minded to look into it. So that's what's up. Here is Mount Meru. In the top left corner next to Kanye West is a little dark stone, and it's 4 continents surrounding it. That's a real location that they don't want to tell you about. They hiding lands, and this is humanity's true homeland. These are the 4 rivers that the religion speak of, that we was born from, those 4 rivers of creation. This is what the Dogon called the Dogon womb of all worlds. Basically, the earth we live in, folks, is a huge Taurus field. It's a huge Taurus field, and the word Taurus became the word Horus, and Horus became the personification of the Taurus to the occult. Now we're heating up, getting deep. Somebody hit the like button for me. Now what we're gonna do here is show you what I mean, though, so we can put our money where our mouth is, baby. We don't want to play with you. You need to know that I know what the hell I'm talking about when I speak. So because of that, I go through the trouble of making these little nice little collages for y'all to show you what I mean when I say it. So Taurus is Horus. To the right is a Taurus field, or a Taurus field. Now another god that personified the Taurus field was Thor. Thor and Horus is the same deity. We can talk about that later. But the hammer of Thor, it became the cross of Jesus. That cross is a capital T. Remember that when you deal with alphabets, the capital T and a lowercase t both represent the cross. Okay? And that both represent the Taurus field. All right, or Ma'at, which shapes like the capital T. In a biological form, that would be the female's uterus, which is a biological vortex where life enters and exits a plane of existence, because her womb is a biological hyperboloid. Energy enters and exits a magnetic energy field via this little pole in the center of the 4 corners. That hourglass, you got 2 triangles pointing at each other. That energy is a cosmic highway. Energy is coming and leaving. So when you're driving down the interstate, you see cars going the opposite direction, and what's separating the traffic is a median. That would be a dielectric inertial plane when you deal with magnetism. So to the right, you got the Taurus field. To the left, you see how they personified the Taurus field as Horus. So you see, what Kanye West is doing, calling himself Yeezus, is personifying himself as electromagnetic energy. And when he does that, our subconscious automatically is attracted to it because it's magnetism. This is the secrets of Magneto, right? He was one of my favorite. You couldn't fuck with Magneto because, you know, magnetism, you know, you got all of these X-Men. Some control fire, some control water. Some of these X-Men can make an earthquake, but Magneto controls the element that all of the 4 elements was born from, and that's electromagnetism, the God element that created the other 4 elements, earth, water, wind, and fire. So when you look at superhuman characters or superheroes, the ones that control magnetism are the gods. In other words, Magneto is the lord of his group. He ruled over his own squad because magnetism controls the elements. So it don't matter if you can make a huge fireball. I can simply make you shatter to pieces by creating a huge magnetic vibrational energy field. It'll make you shatter. It's the same thing like if you got a singer singing in a glass room. Sound can break physical things. Sound is vibration. Vibration is electromagnetism. So this is why they say the creation was spoken into existence, but I don't want to be redundant. That's other videos. Here I'm just showing you how celebrities personify themselves as electromagnetic energy to actually embody the energy. The energy is neutral. A magnet will attract anything, folks, no matter if you evil or bad. You can use a damn magnet, right? What if I told you, since the universe is based upon a fractal code of electromagnetism, if you personify electromagnetism, your body will take the same effect of a magnet. So today, if you look up synonyms for celebrity, one of the synonyms for celebrity is a magnet. But how do celebrities make millions of people get attracted to them? Because they personify themselves as magnetism. It's that simple. Isn't that weird? This is the simple secret of the occult. Hit the like button. I'm giving it to you for free. It's that simple. Now, we talked about Malachi York and all of that. I can show you how Malachi York personified himself as magnetism. Jesus personified himself as magnetism. So this is very simple science, but they want to hide it from you because they don't want everybody to be the center of their own universe, self-lord and master. They want to have a few gods, a few masters that drive the economy, and everybody just worship them. They don't want to be equal. It's some greedy niggas. They like fame and everybody like it my way. I don't want nobody else to be a celebrity but me. So that's what you got in Hollywood right now. They don't want new people to be new. When they see a young cat from the hood come up with some new talent, they get mad, man. Let me tell you what they do. If you're a young cat from the hood and you got pure talent and you starting to draw attention, a big label will sign you, and in the contract it'll say that you can't have no other music affiliations or create no other music until your contract with them is over. Now what they'll do is give you like $500,000 and sign you for 10 years. In that 10 years, they'll sit you down on a couch, and guess what? You can't make music. 10 years and you like, yo, when y'all gonna put my album out? When y'all gonna, nope, we ain't ready yet. But you just signed the contract for 10 years and it say you can't go try to make no music nowhere else. So the label basically paid you $500,000 to end your career. This is called black seating somebody, or blackballing them. Not blackballing them. They call it when the label sits you on a black couch. That's what it's called. What we used to call it. That's what labels do. They see you talented, you about to make millions, and you about to outshine all of their artists that they already invested all their money in, and you some nigga from the hood. They say, hey man, we'll sign you and keep your ass, sit you down for 10 years. You can't make no, you like, man, hold up, did y'all sign me just to sit me down? Basically, basically. So that's what they do. They don't understand. I'm telling you this for a reason. It's a very elitist mindset when you get into the music industry in Hollywood. It ain't like they want to find new, fresh talent and new young rappers. No, that's their worst nightmare. They want a monopoly where the few people who sold out can just keep on selling records till they fucking 50 and 60. And the only young cats they put on are the ones who they can control. It gotta be controlled. So if you just organic from your hood making noise, the label will assign you to control you, sit you down. So I want to tell you that so you understand why there is an occult side of hip hop. It's an occult side of hip hop because an occult deal with trust, meaning we need to control who come in and out of this industry, because with this position in society come great influence. They don't want everybody to be a rapper. You know, Kanye West is fucking hanging out with Donald Trump. Do you see how much influence the positions that rappers hold in your society? That have to be a control position. Everyone just can't do that. So when they lost control over it, it was when people like Tupac and Bob Marley was entering it, exposing it. And they quickly got rid of those niggas, and it's more control today because they got the 360 deals and they got a lot of more ways to filter out any kind of infiltration. So thinking you can get in the music industry and expose it and be the next Tupac, you can get that out your head. Yeah, they been got rid of the heroic type rappers. Only rappers getting signed today are the ones that's fully with the shit. Rappers that'll tell you in an interview, hey man, I don't deal with that politics shit. I'm trying to get paid. Who was that? Young Thug? Any kind of rapper they giving you today, he gotta be fully with the shit. They ain't in the days of signing no Tupac type niggas no more. Rockers Records been gone. And I used to love Rockers Records. Hey, ain't no damn Rockers, no more Rockers Records days no more. Alright? Now check this out, cause we got to get deep into some more of this occult symbolism with hip hop. See, Kanye West personifying himself as the center of magnetism. Let me show you something. Here it is right here. This is called a goddess portal. And the goddess is in the middle of the portal in the form of a six-pointed star. Now, in a lot of ancient matriarchal cultures, they had the goddess raising her arms to symbolize this six-pointed star. Now, when the patriarchs took over, this six-pointed star became a cross. And that cross is what became synonymous with Jesus. But the serpent, the Ouroboros serpent in the Garden of Eden, had the knowledge of magnetism. When they told you in the tree, at the tree of life, the serpent spoke good and evil. Good and evil are code words for electricity and magnetism, repulsive force and absorption force, push and pull. That's what's happening here, push and pull. This is how you create a perpetual energy device. Think of siphoning gas out of a car. Once you suck it halfway, it just starts pulling itself, pouring out. It's a perpetual force at that point. That's what Earth is. And so this symbol here became this symbol. This is just the inside. If you cut a donut in half, you get this. This is what you get when you cut a donut in half. So that's how a magnetic energy field shapes. This is what we're in. And so this is the secret of the occult. I'm showing you all of this so when we go into more of these rapper symbolism, you can tie it into the cosmology. So I ain't gonna dwell on the cosmology too long because I'll be redundant. But basically, this Wu-Tang W is another way of looking at electromagnetism under a ferrocell. I'm gonna see if I can find it for you. Because when you start looking at magnetic energy fields, they take many forms. And one of the forms magnetic energy fields take can be seen as the Wu-Tang W. Now here is the Wu-Tang W right here. Everything, all these symbols can be synced with magnetism. The Wu-Tang W is different ways of viewing a magnetic energy field, and this how you get the killer bee. Remember in Egypt they had the scarab beetle? The beetle and the bee got the same name. The bee and the beetle, bee, beetle, because the bee and the beetle represented the same thing to the ancients. It was a way that they used the insect to personify this electromagnetic energy field. Now the people that's panning you to Africa today, giving all this glory to the Pharaoh, they want you to think that the Pharaoh discovered electromagnetism and then powered the cities, and that's how we got civilization. Basically, that's what they're giving you when they glorify Egypt. So the pyramid on the back of the dollar basically represent the energy companies rising to power, because the foundation of all nations is that which powers a nation, man. Lights, water, resources. Won't be no nation without it. So how did the first pharaohs rise to power? They created systems of governing those resources on massive scales. Could nobody else compete? But what they used to do it was the secrets of electromagnetism. And once they discovered the secrets, they started making this knowledge occult so everybody couldn't learn it. And they created a lower class based upon hiding the knowledge, because knowledge is power. Prior to the rise of the Pharaoh, his knowledge was universal. It empowered everyone, made everyone self-lord and master. Everyone is not self-lord and master today. Some of us don't know what electromagnetism is, but yet you got celebrities using it against you. The crossroads represents the center of magnetism. The North Pole is a huge hyperboloid. You need to understand the nature of your reality, because occultists will use it against you. Like Prodigy said, the energy is neutral. It ain't gonna help you. You gotta help yourself. Ain't no savior. It's self-lord and master. You got to do it. And started using the energies for your benefit. And that's when they can't enter your cipher, because we all in our own, we create our own reality. But when you don't know that, somebody else create your reality for you. That's why you got all of these damn fans that act and look like they favorite celebrity, because they're not creating their own reality. Someone's creating it for them. So here again is the Egyptian scarab beetle and the Masonic bee. They're hiding divine science from you. So we talk about supreme mathematics. We're talking about how all of these different ley lines of energy are born from the source, the center, the one, Allah, the all-seeing eye. That all-seeing eye is right here, the center of magnetism. It's what bends the light. It bends the light. So this sacred bending became the Nike symbol, swoosh. Now you see why so many people attracted to Nike. It's so simple that Nike logo is just one simple concept of a magnetic energy field, the swooshing of the energy. And that is so familiar to our subconscious that Nike is the #1 damn athletic brand. And with a very simple logo that's familiar to our subconscious. So Newport, top 3 selling cigarette companies, same symbol Nike got, the hook of Saturn, the #7, the pipe of Papa Legba, and we'll be talking about that later, but it's a lot to go into. So here go your black and gold. Here is your Killer Bees, Wu-Tang. The bee is here. This is the bee right here. Looks just like a bee or a beetle. Same symbols we got in Egypt, the bees and the beetles. They unlocked the secrets of well, they didn't unlock them. Everybody was empowered universally with these secrets. What happened in Kemet was the dumbing down of these symbols. So this became the bird Horus. These scientific concepts start to become gods. And when that happened, we lost the knowledge of the science and we got all the knowledge of the gods. So people can quote scriptures today, but they can't power their house. A Pastor Pochak can stand up there and tell you everything about the Bible, but if a blackout happened, his family will be in the dark because he don't know the science behind this so-called God of his, the light bearer. So, let me move on here. I don't want to dwell on one thing too long. So do the celebrities know the secrets of electromagnetism the way I'm telling you from a sacred geometrical occult perspective, just like the ancients did? I would think so. Remember, Kanye West is a student of Aleister Crowley and a member of OTO as well as Jay-Z, and both of them are 5% Nation members. All right, I'm keeping in mind the 5% Nation because the 5% Nation was the first branch of Scientology that the NOI had. All right, so and I'm proving that to you right now. Now I want to just play this quick video for you so you can see how they use imagery, symbolism to make themselves godlike. So in this video called Power, it's Kanye West calls the video Power. And it's crazy that he calls it Power because in the video, he's actually personifying that which creates power. Now, electromagnetism is what generates power in our cosmos. Nothing else creates power but electromagnetism. Understand that. I'm going to take a minute. You think about it. Think about what I'm telling you. The only way to generate power in this reality is through the laws of electromagnetism. Kanye West made a song called Power, and in the video, he personified himself as electromagnetism. He gave you science, but was your eyes open? Kanye did the same thing that the Christians did when they created Jesus. Jesus is just a personification of electromagnetic energy. Now let's watch the video because there's a lot being said in the video that's not being said because the language of Saturn or the Reaper is a silent language. You don't speak it. It speaks itself through symbolism. So in this video, even though you hear Kanye West music playing, his mouth ain't moving because he's personifying himself as the Reaper, which is the symbol of the Lord of the Rings is Saturn in the middle of the rings. That's the Reaper. The cosmos is a ripple effect or a ring effect. And the Lord of the Rings is at the center because that Lord replaced the Great Mother. And we went over that in previous streams. But in this video, what you're going to see is that it's a lot of symbolism. Kanye West has a dark filter over him, creating a dark demeanor over him, but yet there's still light above him. And this is the secret of magnetism. There's a point in our cosmos where all of the light gets condensed and it becomes darkness. So if you look at this magnetic energy field, let me show you something real quick. I'm going to decipher Kanye's video. There's a point on Earth where all the light that creates reality gets sucked up into a magnetic void. This is real science. What you're looking at here is a magnet under a Faraday, and with some HD lights, you can see that light cannot escape the center of magnetism. Now, what scientists and space programs are giving you as black holes are just stupid interpretations of magnetism. Black holes aren't real. What's real is what's at the North Pole is a giant magnetic vortex. That's where the compasses are pointing us. At that vortex, all the light that creates reality gets swallowed up into the Reaper. This dark hole became the Reaper, what chops everything up. And I'm showing you this because this is the Scientology symbol and the Nation of Gods and Earth symbol. When you look at that right there, you're looking at that right there. Now, the 5% nation may not be aware of the deep occult secrets of magnetism to their symbolism. But ain't no excuse after this video, right? If you're a 5% nation member, you can show this to everybody, show them, hey, this predates Kemet and that the Pharaoh ain't nothing to glorify. We should all take a shit on the Pharaoh. He created this capitalist peasantry system. Egypt is nothing to glorify. That's why that pyramid is on your dollar. The people that glorify Egypt are the rich people. Remember that the Egyptians had a city called Luxor, and that's the root word of luxury. You shouldn't be glorifying Egypt if you don't live in luxury. The God of the wealthy is the pharaohs that created this system of rich and poor. Why would the poor people worship their God? That's the question you got to ask, because that's what they get you to do subconsciously and you don't know it. That's why you stay poor and the rich get richer and the poor stay poor, because they got you worshiping them while you wallow in the mud. You save up your little McDonald's check to go to the concert. You take your little pennies to the pharaohs of today's world. And these are your rappers, your entertainers. You remember that when they was collecting tax. Remember, when the people was tithing in the church, the rich people was giving their tithes. And Jesus said, hey man, the person that gave the most was this lady with the 2 pennies. Jesus didn't give her the damn 2 pennies back. He said, hey, she gave more than all y'all because all she had was 2 pennies for me. Rest of y'all had millions to give me. She didn't give me but 2 pennies, but I'm taking her shit above y'all's today because she was poor. Now get the fuck out of here. You know, Jesus was that type nigga. I got to keep y'all woke with some humor. But what I'm saying is, he didn't give her them 2 pennies back though. You still got to pay to God now. So, you know, you save up your McDonald's check, you got to pay for the same ticket that the rich kids pay for with their allowance. Everybody empower the celebrities. No one celebrate themselves and the reality that if you siphoned every penny back into your own self, you can become your own center of attraction. But most people spend every dollar to look like a celebrity, to go to the concert where the celebrity at, to get the brands that celebrity wear. Shit, even move to the city that that celebrity live in. And this is a culture of idolizing people and becoming who they are subconsciously. You don't even know it, you know. So you know, when you look at this 5% nation symbol, you are looking at magnetism. So when you look at this symbol in front of you, you are looking at this symbol. This is the center of magnetism. The simple secret that they all hiding about the crossroads is this right here. This is the crossroad. All roads lead to the North Pole on the earth. 0 degrees. All latitudes and longitudes goes back to the North Pole where the compass is point. That's the crossroads. All numbers can go back to 0. 0 is infinity, is not nothing, is everything. It's the 360 of all numbers. That's the secret. So, 0 exists at the North Pole, and this is what's being hidden from us by all of these schools of thought. Now, the 5% nation hides this just like the Nation of Islam hides it. I'm calling them out on it. But what I'm also saying is that not every member know how deep this shit go. You know, you got a lot of Masons that believe in Jesus, that, you know, really just regular motherfuckers that just join a group thinking I can get a better job, you know, and shit like that. They ain't deep into like occult shit, is what I'm trying to tell you. Not everyone that's a 5%er gives a fuck about magnetism and the shit I'm telling you. So don't be a goofball by saying, oh, he a 5%er. Ooh, he worship, you know, ooh, no, not ever. Some cats just cool cats who just, hey, man, it's benefits to joining a lot of these groups, being part of a brotherhood. But they may not be aware to what's going on at the very top of these schools, at the very top. Meaning everybody don't know what the founders knew. I'm giving you the knowledge that I think a lot of the founders knew, but didn't go to the people that carried it on today. Even the gang symbolism can be traced back to cosmology, but the gang members today don't study cosmology. You see? So what I'm doing here is showing you how all of the symbols became corrupted by making them into different schools of thought. That's called dividing and conquering. All of these different schools of thought take a different symbol that mean the same thing and clash with them. The Moors battle the Hebrews. The 5%ers battle the Nation of Islam. When all of these symbols represent one universal concept, but how they keep you at war with the religious wars, Christians versus Islam, this versus that, is by dividing the symbols up into different schools and having each school have a monopoly over that symbol as if it's unique to that school, when each symbol is a universal concept that was, in other words, if I told 1 million people to write the alphabet A, we would get 1 million interpretations of the same thing. Each of these schools of thought have a different symbol, but the same symbol. All of the ancient cultures made a symbol of earth. And even though it may seem different, it's the same. Just like everybody don't write the number 7 the same. 10 people will write it differently, but it's still the number 7. So the interpretation of the earth was the same symbol in different forms. And how they took away the universal code that would have connected us all back is by separating these symbols into different schools and saying that they different and stuff, when all of these schools got the same universal concept with their symbol. And that's what I'm showing you now, magnetism. There's only one code of the cosmos. And you can distort that universal code by making it many things when it's just one. So unique have the same, when you say unique, the root word of it is uni, just like universe. All right, just like unity, universal. All of the ancients had a universal understanding of the earth, but they expressed it in a unique way. So unique does not mean different. Unique means you're different and the same. No matter how different us humans are, we still humans. You still got the same templates, eyes, hands, feet, but different forms of the same thing. So in the ancient world, when they was understanding what reality was, these different cultures came up with different symbols, but the symbols was representing the same things. And today around the world, you got these different gods with the same stories, because these gods became the personifications of those universal symbols. So one of the famous gods today is Jesus, and the symbol associated with him is the cross. And you can see that cross right here. That's magnetism. Jesus is a personification of magnetism. And that's why the cross is so sacred if you look at my screen right here. Now the symbol you looking at here is the same crossing that the 5% nation give you. This is Kabbalah science. This is the Kabbalah. This is the cube of Allah, or the cube Allah, the cube of Allah. Now, what happens when you unfold the cube of Allah? Light is shining from it. Let me show you. When you unfold the cube becomes a cross, and there is light coming out of the cross, meaning illumination. Now we're about to get deep. Hold up a second. Let me get my next slide. Here we go. When you look at an open box, the open box is the cross. That's what the North Pole is an open box, a hyperbola, or the opening in the earth where all compasses point. Here it is right here. The North Pole is the opening of the box, where all the energy re-enters and exits the box to renew itself. This is the path that Jesus took on Calvary, because Calvary is the North Pole. Now this box is Kabbalah. I'm showing you now about the cube worship and Saturn, okay? Because when you unfold this cube, the light of illumination comes out. So an unfolded box is a plus sign, and illumination is an X sign. All right, let me see if I can find my collage that'll show you what that looked like real quick, because it's worth it. It's worth you checking that out. Just give me a minute, man, and I'm gonna pull that up. I hope it pulls up quick so I don't keep you waiting too long. Hold on. Yeah, I got a lot of good slides to show you what I'm talking about that all-seeing eye. You have to just give me a minute. So when you open up a box and the light is coming out of it, that's how you get the symbol of the 5% nation. I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. Here it is. It's worth the wait. It's worth the wait, folks. Here is the all-seeing eye of Saturn and how you can sync it with Kabbalah worship and the cube symbolism. See, everything in nature has this pattern of a plus sign and an X synced together. The plus represent the box or the cross. When you open up a cube, you get that box, that cross, that plus sign. But the light that's coming out of the box is the X. So you got a plus sign with an X on top of it. The plus sign with the X on top of it, the X being the rays of light coming out of the box. The opening of the box, you know, the flaps hanging on the side and the light coming out. The light bursting out just like the flaps, like an X. But the box being this crossing, the square. So why am I keep on pointing that out to you? For this reason. Give me a second, I'll show you. If you look at the box with the X around it coming out of it, that is how you get, excuse me, let me go to it. That's how you get this symbol. So this is Scientology. Because when you're dealing with Scientology, you're dealing with the Kabbalah, the cube of Allah. Now, what is that? Again, this is Jesus worship as well. When you unfold a cube, you get the cross. That opening is an opening to heaven. So what happened with Jesus on the cross? Jesus went to heaven at the crossroads. He was beamed up. This became the whole UFO talk, Enoch going up. Ain't no aliens, y'all. The spirit is the alien or the UFO that's beamed up out of the body or raptured by the Reaper. This is the science of the ancient world before it was corrupted and turned into spookism. It just symbolized pure reincarnation through the womb. And then nobody have no fear of death because they understood, hey, I'm going to just be in my mama belly again coming back. But they turned that into you going to hell, heaven, if you don't do what I say. So they do what thou wilt. Let every man that can be deceived. And they got millions and billions of people believing that if they not do what they're told, they going to burn in hell. While they hold the secrets that will empower us and make us fearless and make us not scared of death and understand death ain't death, it ain't an ending, it's a new beginning. When they put you in your box, being your casket, it's another way of saying they're putting a seed in the ground to grow itself out again. So the mystery of the Kabbalah is basically you becoming a seed in a tree. A seed and a tree. Is no such thing as endings, only just continuous new beginnings. Your casket going in the ground represent them replanting you in the womb of your next mother. This is the mystery of the Kabbalah. They don't want to give you this because they want to rule you and say, hey, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to burn up. If you don't believe in my God, you're going to die and the snake's going to get you in hell. No, man, when everybody die, you're reborn, and whatever your life quality is like is based upon your actions in this life. Your karma gonna follow you. So you may be reborn in a shitty lifestyle. This is what the ancients taught, but this is what they're hiding from us, because that knowledge there will take away the mysteries of death, and they only can rule you by keeping death occult or keeping death a mystery or occult, which is mystery. This is how those first pharaohs rose to power and made themselves God. When they changed the narrative of what death was like to the people and dumbed them down, they also taught them that in order for you to be born again, you got to worship the pharaoh. And if you don't, when you die, all this crazy shit gonna happen, being burnt and all that by dragons. That started in Egypt. Deceiving people, do what thou wilt. Got all these folks believing if they don't worship this sun god, you know, and people living their whole life dedicating it to these invisible creations. That's the tragedy. While the people who created it all know that it's fake and know the real truth. That's the sad part. So the 5% nation is giving you Kabbalah, and that's why they say in the name of Allah, because Allah is Kabbalah, the cube of Allah. And the laws of attraction can be discovered when you understand the mysteries of the cobblestone, how it attracts humans to it. It's the same way celebrities attract humans to themselves. All right, so I don't want to make this too long. Maybe I can do a part 2 if you guys, if the ratings are good, if you give me a lot of thumbs up, share it, make it viral, then I'll do a part 2. So here you got the cube of Allah in the form of the 5% nation symbol. Now Allah is the reaper, and his sword is the number 7. And it's the 5% nation because the number 5 is associated with Saturn. The number 5 is the number of Saturn. Now, I want to move forward here and show you and skip the subject matter a minute and talk about Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson is the father of rock and roll. And if you didn't know, people, this is what they don't want to tell you. Hip hop is a child of rock and roll. A lot of hip hop artists, especially from New York, not gonna like that, but it is the truth. Hip hop, it wouldn't be no hip hop if it wasn't no rock and roll. And what I'll do in the future is showing you how these musics was born, how these music genres was born from each other. Now, when you look at hip hop, they do the same rock and roll symbolism that rock and roll people do, with the devil horn, sticking the tongue out. You know, you had a famous rap song that was called Party Like a Rock Star, Party Like a Rock Star. You know, your first rappers were collabing with rock artists like Aerosmith and shit like that. So there's been a marriage between hip hop and rock and roll for many, many years. And I don't think a lot of occultists like that to be talked about because that goes into some deep shit. The father of rock and roll was said to discover how to create rock and roll by doing a deal with the devil. When you now I'm talking about the origins of hip hop when we deal with musical notes, musical composition. I know that there's a relation with the hippie movement and the hip hop movement as well. I actually covered that. But here I'm telling you about the actual science of the music. You know, the musical scales, the notes and everything. You feel me? You can create any kind of music through hip hop because hip hop is a universal music that was created by Freemasons. Meaning, you can take a damn Indian flute and sample it over hip hop drums and it'll be a Timbaland beat. You can take any kind of culture's music and sample it through hip hop and make it into hip hop. Because hip hop ain't really a culture. Hip hop is a blended science of cultures. Hip hop was created by blending different musical forms. So we create hip hop by blending different musical forms. Does that make sense? Makes perfect sense. I'm going to say it one more time. Hip hop was created by the union of different musical genres. Therefore, today, we still create rap music by sampling different instruments and sounds and putting them together in the medley. And now, okay, that's some new shit, you know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's a occult science to the creation of this thing. So the guy who was so-called responsible for creating rock and roll only discovered the notes and the mathematics behind rock and roll because he did a deal with the devil. His name was Robert Johnson. Go and do your research on him. They'll tell you it's very mysterious how this one man was doing rock and roll, and he is the father of rock and roll. Wasn't nobody doing what we call rock and roll before this guy, and no one knows how he just embarked upon this whole new genre of music. Born from the blues, of course, but still very unique. So many say he did a deal with the devil. In one of his songs called Crossroads, he talk about that deal. And this is artwork from it. Now, who is the devil? The devil is the Baphomet, right? And when you see this goatee that the devil got, it's because the first pharaoh is the Sphinx, y'all. Check it out. Now we're cracking the code. Hold on. The Sphinx is a personification of Pan, or the first pharaoh. Hold on a second, I'll get you one. Here it is right here. One thing you want to pay attention to is the Sphinx is the devil. The Sphinx is the Baphomet. The Sphinx is Pan, the goat god. People say it's half man, half lion. It's actually half man, half goat. Now, the crazy thing about you thinking it's a lion is because the pharaoh has on a pharaoh headdress. If you really want to know about the Lion of Judah was a goat. So Jesus was the Lion of Judah, but he was the Lamb of Judah. This goat god takes the form of a lion, but the Sphinx is really the goat god. So the Sphinx have on a goatee. That's a very characteristic feature of the Sphinx, the goatee. And the fact that we call it a goatee because it's synonymous with the goat god Pan. If you ever pull up the Baphomet, that's his style of dress. He always have his goatee. This is Uncle Sam with the goatee. So the reason I'm pulling up the goatee, let me stay on subject here. I'm all over the place. We ain't getting into none of this yet. We want to stay on track. We ain't get into none of that yet. Let's stay on track. Right here, the goatee. So this is another form of the Sphinx. Now the Sphinx is a god of the crossroads. Check it out, right? There was a god called Papa Lekba who was the first form of the Baphomet to ever exist. If you didn't watch the video I've been doing on Papa Lekba and the African Baphomet, you're missing out. Check it out, right? The African Baphomet, Papa Lekba, took many forms. One of those forms was a guy with a top hat with a cigar. That became the Monopoly Man because he represents the first pharaoh, the one who created the world monopoly of capitalism, money system. You can't beat them at their own game. That's why it's a monopoly. Okay? So the people who created this monopoly form of government started in Egypt. It was the first families in the pharaohs in Kemet. But why this tie into rock and roll, right? You say, Brother Sanchez, why are you talking about that in relation to Robert Johnson's? It's because they tell you rock and roll was created by a man doing a deal with the devil at the crossroads. Check this out, folks. Let's talk about the devil at the crossroads. Here he is right here. The devil at the crossroads is Papa Lekba, which is an African form of the Reaper or the god Saturn. They give you this in the movie Candyman, but he got a hook though, and he killing people. That's the Reaper. His name was Papa Lekba. But what I'm gonna do right now at this time because we about to enter a deeper section of the stream. I'm going to take just a 1-minute break, and now I'm going to come back and start syncing Papa Lekba to the occult side of Notorious B.I.G. because many people don't know that Notorious B.I.G. wasn't an original character. He was embodying the energy of Papa Lekba, and he is not unique to him either. Many people carried the cane and wore the top hat, and they also had a cigar because that was the god's Papa Lekba attire. He smoked a cigar, he wore a top hat, and he wore a suit. Many musicians in the occult embody the energy of Papa Lekba to bring attraction to themselves. So Biggie Smalls was separate from a lot of rappers. He was very classy. He wore suits, he had the cane, he had the mafia demeanor, you know, and that image right there is what made a guy that probably wouldn't have been so attractive garner all of this attention. People don't understand that that right there is a symbol of confidence, and that's what a woman wants. So I don't want to come here today and just hack all of these guys. There are very many incentives on why you would want to become a god or start learning a lot of the teachings of the occult to garner attraction to yourself. You know, a guy that may not be that attractive like Biggie, you can see why it would be incentive to him to get around a bunch of brothers, learn how to carry himself, get him a sort of personality, you know, because Biggie mama will tell you he was somewhat of a nerd. He was a, you know, heavy set, dark skinned guy, cross-eyed, kind of nerdy. A lot of nerds can rhyme too, that's weird. But we'll talk about that later. But anyway, Biggie's swagger come from his occult influence. And basically that's a universal swagger. We call this the swagger of the pimp. And the pimp has control over women. But the pimp only has control over women because the pimp has studied the female species like I have. I study the divine feminine. I worship the uterus. You cannot have 10 women on your arm by not understanding the female. So people think that pimps are just arrogant niggas who smack women around. That's not the truth. Pimps are actually some cool guys. Now, a lot of people may not like what they do as far as exploiting the women and selling their body, but a lot of them women will tell you I had an awesome time when I was, you know, dating this pimp, or when I was with this pimp. He treated me good. He bought me everything I wanted. I didn't want for shit. So this image of just chicks getting smacked up all day is stupid. Pimps massage they damn women feet when they come home. They take care of their product. So you understand what pimping really is serving a woman so she serve you. This is what pimping was all about before it turned into just capitalizing off the woman. So we can talk about pimping on an esoteric level because, you know, Brother Sanchez know a thing or two about pimping, but my shit on a deeper level. You know what I'm saying? My shit on some, let me quit. But you know, this is the pimp demeanor. This is very old demeanor. We're going to talk about that demeanor because this is from an old African deity called Papa Lekba. And any man that takes on this persona will become a ladies' man. I'm serious. No bullshit. If you wake up every day and put on you a nice suit, carry you a cane, man, throw you on a fedora or a top hat, you're going to look very confident. You're going to look like the Monopoly man. You're going to look like you got money. You like you're wise. You know, it's just a certain demeanor that says royalty, that says confidence. I got it all under control. I own the Monopoly board. This became the Monopoly man with the top hat. But this first deity in Africa by the name of Papa Lekba also is just a personification of that first pharaoh. They made all the Africans worship him. But this is the Baphomet right here. And I showed you him in his goat form on previous videos. I'm not going to be redundant. All right, so we talked about the number 7, and we talked about the hook that the Reaper holds. We know that the Reaper holds a hook that looked like the number 7. That number 7 can be seen here as it relates to, remember, 5%ers worship Saturn. They just don't know it. They just don't know it, but they worship Saturn. So the Reaper is Saturn, and this number 7, I told you, represents severing. You can link it to the month of September. Now, why am I telling you this and being redundant here? Hold on a second, people. 1 minute. Now, the reason I keep bringing up the Reaper in relation to Saturn worship and the number 7, we're dealing with supreme mathematics. The number 7 becomes now a symbol. And that symbol is what I'm trying to show you. If you look at this Scientology symbol, the middle of this symbol represents where the severing takes place. Everything breaks down at the middle of that cross. Why, Brother Sanchez? Here is the symbol again. The opening of the box represents the severing of the box. The box is separated. All the arms are spread outward. So I'm showing you how the Kabbalah ties into the Reaper and the severing and the number 7, dealing with completion and decomposition, the severing of the body. But also tying it into if you give me 1 minute, we're going to tie this into, hold up a second. Why I brought it up, because Papa Lekba is the Reaper, and you say, well, where's his number 7 or his blade? He don't carry a 7 or blade, number 7 shaped blade. He carries a scepter. Ha ha. See how these words relate? Scepter is the root word of September. The Lion of Judah carried a scepter. Moses carried a scepter or a staff. This is the same God in different times, guys. It's still the Reaper with the blade. When the blade doesn't shape like the number 7, it's still called a scepter because he uses it to divide. The scepter is used to it's like a link in between the physical world and the spiritual world. So the magician can do magic with the scepter. The magic is coming from the spiritual world, but the magic enters the physical world through the scepter, or that which separates the two. So it not only separates the world, it connects them, because it's a paradox. That's what the crossroads is all about. That crossing is a paradox. So it's a separating act, but a divisive act. And that's because what I'm teaching you here when we deal with electromagnetism is the flower of life. And when you think about it, if this is the image of the center of magnetism under a real ferrocell, it shows you that the flower of life was ancient science and just not some pretty art. It's uniting by separating, but this can be changed and you can divide and conquer. This concept can be altered to create division instead of unity. So like Prodigy was saying, it's a neutral energy, but they use it for chaos theory, Saturnian worship, or, you know, this is how they use it to empower themselves. Now, this flower of life is the same thing we see here under a ferrocell, folks. At the middle of magnetism is a severing. the worlds are separated by the North Pole, but they are united by the North Pole. Because when Jack climbs up the beanstalk, there are planes of existence up this hyperboloid. We can get into that later. I want to show you how it ties into the occult side. So it's the ancient flower of life. But what are we talking? What are we talking? His scepter represents the number 7. Scepter. So he is the reaper. Now that we got that out the way, here's another form of him here with his scepter or his blade. And you can see the crown on his head, because this became the Statue of Liberty holding the torch, folks. Look here. Now you worship the doggone, they got everybody worshiping a God, man, and you don't know that you're worshiping the God of capitalism. And as you worship it, you get poorer and they get richer, because you're supposed to worship yourself. You are God. You can see the crown of Saturn, and they traded his scepter for a doggone blade, but this is still the Baphomet. This is still Saturn. And where is it, folks? It's in New York. The heaviest Masonic influence in the nation is in New York and Atlanta. Write that down. You might need to know that. The occult headquarters, the heavily influences of those who control our nation, the occult side, is in New York and Atlanta. And of course, California, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, we know that. But that's your trinity right there, okay? Now, this right here, New York has a lot of Masonic history they don't tell you about. We're going to get into that in the future. But this right here, this statue is Saturn. Batman is Saturn. Gotham. All that shit, when you think about goth, it's a dark culture. That's what New York is all about. You know, it's a very grimy attitude where a nigga can righteously just do away with you and your family based upon, hey man, I'm part of the brothers, we coming to get you. It's a very mob type, bullying type spirit. Whereas if you look at poor Malcolm X, you see what happened to him. He was sprayed up mob style by people who call themselves gods, godly men. Went right in there when he was giving his presentation and riddled him with all kind of bullets. Because these schools of thought that monopolize the knowledge behave like mobs today. And the knowledge is monopolized to empower them and their families and keep other niggas down, out the way. So because of that, all of the industries are closing in and this country is slowly falling, because Saturn is a god that predates on his own self. You can't have a successful capitalist system because the system crashes upon itself like the domino effect. What happens the reason it's called a domino effect is because whenever you got a group of people ruling over another group of people, it's inevitably that system gonna crash over time for various reasons. But when you think of the word dominion or dominate, those who dominate got to face their karma, and it's a domino effect. That's why those who created this system knew that it wasn't going to last long. They told you in the Bible Satan's system was just going to last 7,000 years. And if you do the math since 3100 BC up until now, and you go up, we're approaching 2020 and the fall of America, they were spot on. It's been about 7,000 years according to the Gregorian calendar. That's also strange because you talk about the splitting of time and the great calendrical deception, the blade of Saturn and the Baphomet splitting the yin from the yang is how they was able to disconnect us from natural time and put you on Gregorian time by splitting the calendar and trading. And we went from lunar calendars to solar calendars. And the worship of the Great Mother, we traded that to the worship of men and sun gods like Saturn. So the people that understand this run all of the industries that rule the nation, and they can monopolize who can get to certain heights of it. So this is a nepotistic type of government based upon nepotism. That's why we say it ain't what you know, it's who you know. And that goes back to explain why a lot of people join the 5% Nation. It also explains why I got a list up here now that show you members of the 5% Nation, a lot of them that I idolize: ODB, Gangstar, just a lot of people that was very prevalent in hip hop who were 5%ers. Big Daddy Kane, who is this? Wise, and who is this? Everybody on this list, 5% Nation, is wise, intelligent. You can see him with the black and gold on. In this, you can start looking at 5% Nation symbolism. If you look at RZA's hands right here, I told you that's Baphomet. If you look at, what I want to point out to you is Robert Johnson, the father of rock and roll, doing a deal with the devil at the crossroads, was him selling his soul to the Baphomet. Robert Johnson sold his soul to the God of the crossroads, which is this God, Papa Lekba. Robert Johnson, the father of rock and roll, he did a deal with the devil at the crossroads. Papa Lekba symbol is the cross as well. Another form of Papa Lekba is Jesus. Again, the energy of Papa Lekba was embodied in Big Papa. Big Papa personified himself as Papa Lekba. And that's how he got a lot of his success through. It's a lot of magic behind these people. Hitchcock, you know, is deep when you talk about Hitchcock and Papa Lekba. You're really talking about phallus worship. The bird landing on a cigar is a comedic ritual. I'll show it to you now. The cigar is the phallus of Osiris, and it's very homosexual to have it in the mouth. Now, a lot of people don't want to understand, they don't want to talk about Notorious B.I.G. being homosexual. We know Puff Daddy was homosexual. The name Puff Daddy translates to gay daddy. A puff is a nickname for a gay dude. We call them puffs. That was a nickname they called them in the 70s, puffs. So a puff daddy would be the homo daddy, or the one who called himself metrosexual. Now, Big Papa translates to big phallus. Papa Lekba name come from the fact that his phallus carries the legacy. Now, they say that if you got a huge phallus, you got a third leg. They call this god Papa Lekba, and they personify him as the obelisk. They worshipped his phallus in the form of the obelisk. We talk about that in our Papa Lekba series if you want to follow that. The bird landing on a cigar is because Osiris is a form of Papa Lekba. It's phallus worship and it's occult symbolism. Hold on a second, folks. Hold on a second. So Osiris was another form of, was deified as a Lekba or legacy. Remember, when you read the Bible, you're talking about royal succession starting from Atum. Atum is the Greek version of Papa Lekba, or the Sumerian version. The god Atum became Adam, and that was the first god of the Old Testament that carried the succession of humanity all the way up to Jesus. So a tomb is Osiris, and another form of Osiris, and the pharaohs they deified themselves like the Pope. They passed the succession through mythology. So this one title of Christ becomes the title of the bloodline of all the ruling men dating back to Norman. Okay, so that's why they have to blend all of these gods every so generations, and you be like, damn, this god is synonymous with that god, and this god was blended with that god, because they just passing the succession. When you say pass the baton is the batun. The Ba in the tomb, talking about resurrection, dealing with rise, erection. When the patriarchs took over, this happened through the phallus. Before this, everyone resurrected through the womb of the Great Mother. After they replaced the Great Mother, 3100 BC, you resurrected through the males, through Christ. You got to be born again through a guy, which is homosexuality, because now they had to put a womb on Adam. Adam had to give birth to his wife with a womb. And this story of Osiris having sex with the bird and this resurrection story is the same. It's another version of Jesus. It's a way to have resurrection without the woman. There's no woman involved in this story. And if someone want to debate me, email me, talktoBroSanchez@gmail.com. Prove to me a woman is involved in this. Can't say she a bird, because a woman ain't a bird. If you call my woman a chicken head, she'll slap you. So what make you think you're going to be able to call her a damn bird? This is bestiality, and it started in Kemet. Men having sex with animals. And we still in that sick system now. The Pharaoh was none to glorify, folks. This is bestiality. This is sick. You wouldn't let your child watch a porno with a man having sex with a bird. So why would you let Kemetic priests give them these sick stories? Teach your children the right way, man and woman. This is bestiality. Now, the bird landing on top of the phallus is occult, homosexual occult knowledge. And a lot of occultists symbolize the bird on top of the phallus with this sacred pose right here that I think was first done by Hitchcock. Get that right. Look at the name, Hitchcock. You know, Big Papa, showing you the one eye of the Illuminati. Many people don't want to realize that the notorious B.I.G. was an occultist. He was an occultist, folks. And believe me, he ain't just doing this because he said this will be a good pose. He's speaking a language to those who know what he's talking about. The bird on top of the cigar, again, I'm going to close that so we can close some of these. So the bird on top of the cigar can be seen here. It's phallus worship. So you got to look at these symbols that the artists give you. Read between the lines. He giving you the one eye of Saturn, and he giving you the bird on top of the phallus. This is Kemetic mythology. And hip hop was founded on Kemeticism, Kabbalah, the Kabbalah tree of life. Even when you write a verse, you standing on a square. What you think a verse is? 16 lines. How do you get 16? 4 by 4, which is the cube of Saturn. A verse is a cube. It's all occult, people. So more images of Papa Lek Bob with the top hat, the suit, dealing with Notorious B.I.G. You talk about the 5% nation, and you just got to understand that the symbol of the 5% nation originates from Saturn, Moloch, Apollo, Scientology. Scientology came after 5% nation, so they Johnny come lately, but just a white version of the 5% nation. What happened was the Nation of Islam developed a new age form of they basically got everybody practicing occult magic, but in a dumbed down way to where it empowers them and not you. So for those deep ass thinkers that want to get into deep concept of the cosmology, they give them dumbed down forms of that. And then you get these new schools of thought like Scientology and all of this. But it's trying to connect the self with the heavens. But none of these people achieve that. They are connected to some leader. Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad. In the case of the 5% Nation, Allah to them is Clarence the 13. So they never really glorify you on a level of Clarence or maybe on a level of Elijah Muhammad. In fact, you know, if a young cat like Dr. Ben say, hey man, I'm just as great as Elijah Muhammad, they'll say, boy, shut your mouth. What's wrong with you? That's blasphemous. You full of ego. You're not greater than the teacher. When you think about it, it should be that way. The children should be greater than these elders. Otherwise, we moving backwards. And that's the point of the Illuminati, to make you move backwards by making all the right shit wrong and all the wrong shit right. We supposed to be better than Elijah Muhammad. Little niggas today supposed to be able to run circles around Clarence the 13. But they can't do it because the moment you start talking like that, niggas get mad and say, hold up, what you talking about Clarence the 13 and about Elijah Muhammad? Sit down. And they rather the little nigga worship the man who long gone in this grave, old head, gone away. He stay God, but the youngest never access Godhood in themselves because they blinded by a legacy. They don't create their own. So what I'm saying here is all schools of thought can be traced back to Saturn worship and the first patriarchs in Egypt or Kemet. And that's not our truth. We got to go back pre-dynastic times before the dynasties ruled, when the entire earth revered the uterus and the womb and the woman. So it's not the name of Allah. It's the name of Alat, the goddesses, before they changed her into Allah. Okay? The man and the woman come from the womb. So why do all of the credit go to the male gods today? It should be in the name of Alat, in the name of my mama. Because if your mama wasn't here, wouldn't be no damn 5% nation, right? Every nation, every god in the nation had to come out of a womb. So why would you say in the name of Allah? It's not in the name of Allah. Clarence 13 had a mama, just like Jesus had a mama. But Jesus' mama don't get the credit because we too blinded by the light of Jesus. Being blinded by the light is what this symbol represents. Either you are the light or you're blinded by the light. I'm going to say it again. Either you are the light or you're blinded by the light. Either you are the light or you're worshiping a celebrity who is the light. They're the shining star. And you just the motherfucker at the concert saying, yay, not realizing you're God. No man is worthy of celebration. So what's the point of a celebrity? Every human needs to look in the mirror and celebrate themselves, because you are equivalent to that which you celebrate outside of yourself. So, gonna be a lot of people that ain't gonna like what I'm doing here today, because I'm showing you that, yes, all of these schools of thought trace back to occultism, patriarchy. And I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. So if you look at this symbol, this is the sigil of Saturn. And if you look at the sacred geometry of it, it's so easy to see that it's the symbol of Scientology. Everybody is worshiping Saturn today. The symbol of Saturn is the American eagle sitting on the dollar. This is your American eagle. Your Scientology The symbol of Saturn is, again, the star of the 5% nation. Let's do sacred geometry. In this star, you have a diamond. One thing at a time. We see the diamond right here. Point out one thing at a time. Surrounding this diamond is a 4-pointed box. This is sacred geometry, folks. You can do this to break the sync symbols together. Point out one thing at a time. Here go your diamond. Surrounding the diamond is a 4-pointed box. Here's your diamond. Surrounding this diamond is a 4-pointed box. And going through the 4-cornered box is a line or another diamond or a axis pole, an inertial plane. So let's go over this again. You got a diamond with a box around it with a line through it. You got a diamond with a 4-pointed box around it and this line through it on a shish kebab. Diamond, 4 points around it, connected to the pole. Now this is ancient cosmology. This is called a unicursal hex of thelema. But I'm not going to get into that because we're running out of time. And I got to go ahead and I'm going to have to do a part 2. But people, I'm trying to show you what all roads lead to ancient cosmology and electromagnetism. Energy is free. And energy can be created out of thin air. You don't have to burn fuels. You don't have to burn. There's no fossil fuels. That's stupid. They got you thinking that you're powering the world off dead dinosaurs. You got to be a fool. The world is powered based upon this symbol in front of you. The symbol in front of you is the symbol they give you for the atom and the molecule, because Moloch is the Baphomet owl and Adam is the damn same thing, the Baphomet. Adam or Atum is the first pharaoh and he took the form of an owl too. So they said everything start in Africa, everything start in Egypt. They also tell you everything start with the atom and the molecule because they're subconsciously making you practice occultism, telling you everything start with the first pharaoh Adam, which was Moloch, the owl Moloch that Drake worshiped and so many more people worship. This is the atom or the molecule, but this is the symbol of the occult and of the 5% nation, whether they know it or not. This is the secret of creating free energy, folks. And that's how they rule the world, by making you pay for something that's a byproduct of nature. You create energy just by blinking your eyes. They got the technology right now that can create clothing that can record your day-to-day movement and transmit that into energy to power your house. So the whole while you exercising and going about your day, the clothes you wear will be sending that energy to a generator to create electricity for your house. This is old shit. This is primitive technology I'm telling you about. And they just now bringing it, they're going to just now start thinking about this type shit in the year 2070. I'm telling you about it now. I'm telling you about it right now. I'm telling you in the year 2090, 2080, this how people going to be powering their cities. Everything you do create energy, so why do you pay energy companies for your resources? It's because for the past 7,000 years, we've been in a dark age where a peasantry system have been created based upon them keeping you in dark of this knowledge. Because they say they are the illuminated ones, you need to be in darkness. Now, either you become the light or you become blinded by the light of others. Becoming the light means when you begin to emanate with the knowledge from within and you grasp your own understanding of the shit that I'm teaching you now, to the point you can teach it and explain it in your own way. But here's where all roads lead back to. Once you study this sacred geometry or Gaiametry, because Gaia is the goddess, you understand she is the center of the earth. Mother Earth feeds us from the center. The umbilical cord is the North Pole. You can see it right here. All compasses point here. And the secret of free energy was turned into the crown of thorns in Jesus. See, this is the crown of thorns. It's an electromagnetic energy field. You can create one out of basically nothing and power your house from a freaking lemon because everything generates an energy field. Everything. So why would you pay companies? Energy is free. Everything creates energy and they're charging you for it. The foundation of all government is the creation of energy and is one of man's long lost secrets. And it's not lost, it was hidden with the rise of the New World Order and the creation of government in Egypt. This is the secret of the secret societies. The fact that energy is infinite and we work our ass off for it every day because you're in the matrix. If it was interesting to you to generate energy, you'll understand why people like Kanye West personify themselves with magnetic energy. It's not interesting to most of you to talk about magnetism because they dumb you down. The people who talk about magnetism use it against you. And how do they use it against you? It's so simple. I told you earlier, personification. We'll leave on this one. The crown of thorns is a magnetic energy field personified on Jesus' head. And when you associate this symbolism to God, and that's because God isn't a person, place, or thing. God creates person, places, and things. God is the center of magnetism and can't be confined to the person, place, or thing because it creates the space by which the person, place, or thing dwells in. You can tap into that same energy and use it for your benefit the moment you realize you are God. And that ain't blasphemy to say that. So, as we close out for the day, I think I will do a part 2, but understand now what the 5% Nation is all about. It's Baphometic, even down to the hand signs. Understand that hip hop is a sibling of rock and roll, and they all have a satanic influence. Look at the Baphomet's hands, people. Look at the Baphomet's hands, people. Now look at RZA's hands, who's a member of the 5% Nation. And I'm showing you that this school is based upon Baphomet science. It's not syncing it back to the Great Mother, it's syncing it back to the Baphomet. So, crossing the 2 fingers, showing you that split in the middle in the form of a V or a vortex. And the 2 fingers. Now I'm gonna get a little graphic here. When you start to get into sets and you finger a woman, this is how your fingers shake. You make the fingers look like this when you finger a woman. And that's a reason for that. These 2 fingers represent binding. These 2 fingers get binded in ritual. Did you know that? These 2 fingers got a lot to do with the divine feminine or the great womb. So let me just show you how the number 2 relate to the vagina and this symbolism before we go. So wait a minute. So we're gonna sync to the vagina, to the deuces that you see them. That's what they telling you to symbolize the 5% symbols. But for real, when you take the number 2 and you put a T at the end of it, what does it become? Somebody in the chat room, spell it out. Becomes the word twat. Twat is a synonym for the vagina or the coochie. You can't spell twat without spelling two. And it take them 2 fingers to actually, please the twat. But I'm just showing you how this relates to the divine feminine, because when you say Wu-Tang, you're really saying Poo-Tang. Wu is another word. I can show you right now. I'll pull up etymology right now, because I've already done this. I'll do it again. Wu means oolong. Wu means the black dragon. Wu, the word wu means oolong. Oolong is the black dragon, but the black dragon is the great mother. The black dragon is the great mother. Now let's look up what Tang means. Tang means the serpent's tongue, because the great mother was represented by the serpent's tongue. Now NASA, the space programs, symbolize their company logos with serpent's tongue, because all of these space programs are connected to Hollywood. Astronauts are actors. Rappers are actors. They're not really shooting 100 people. They live on yachts, man. Come on now. They selling you the lifestyle to get your children locked up. They're all actors. So it's one big game being acted upon to create this matrix to control your mind. But once you realize it's a game, you create your own world. That's what I'm doing with Bro Sanchez TV. So Wu-Tang translates to the black dragon or the serpent's tongue, and all of that can translates to why we say the black woman is God. The black woman is not God. All women represent the gateway in and out of creation, not just the black woman. All women are portals. So that portal that we're talking about is what I keep showing you here. On a biological level, the female represents this portal, and the womb of a woman is a diamond shape just like this. So this symbol can be seen on a biological level in the female species, where energy coming in and out of her womb, just like energy is coming in and out of this womb. So the woman is the very embodiment of Taurus energy, and is a gateway. Everything can be understood by exploring her biology, but you can't do it because that became a cult today, and they desecrated the goddesses and got rid of any kind of teaching about the uterus on a divine level. They turned that into witchcraft. So when we read that the mother became the black dragon and the serpent's tongue, that's why don't nobody want to touch this stuff today, because it's a cult. Ain't nobody gonna get the truth today, because they ain't gonna be able to get past the black dragon. They gonna be scared. They gonna say, oh, this is some voodoo crap. When really it's just a way they transform the great mother goddess into black dragons, serpents. In the Garden of Eden, she was a serpent speaking, but she represents the tree of life, the female womb. And the speaking that come from it, that's just dealing with vibration. That vibration splits the primordial sea evenly. That's how you get the divine crossroads. That crossroads was personified today by many patriarchal gods, but I'm just showing you guys that it can be traced back in its originality to the Great Mother. Before you had all of these male brotherhood schools of thoughts, Masonic schools, 5% Nation, Moorish Temple, all these Scientology, they reinterpreted these symbols in a dumbed down way. They ain't gonna go as deep as I'm going now. It's gonna always go back to the black man God, some egotistical shit like that. How does that show us how all of these different humans and insects and plants and animals was created by one high source? That one high source was the black man? Come on now. Get for real. So we break down the etymology of Wu-Tang. In other words, Wu-Tang is Poo-Tang when you read this etymology. And you can also see how it can be synced to Saturn. I just showed you how the Wu-Tang W is just a symbol of magnetism. So your Wu-Tang W can be seen as a king's crown. The king's crown is the upper part of the hyperboloid, those 3 points. That's the king's crown. You know, so when you deal with a card deck, you'll see the king, all the cards is as above, so below, like this symbol. Now, I don't want to hold y'all too long. We talk about the 5% nation. Well, the number 5 is associated with Saturn. The 5% nation symbolism can be synced to the god Saturn, just like I'm doing now, and with the cube of Allah. Allah is another form of Saturn. So, here's the symbol of Saturn, which became today the number 5. The number 5 sits in the middle of the numbers because Saturn represents the middle of the earth, or the North Pole. It represents the middle of the earth, the North Pole, the Reaper, the black hole. And the numerical value of that would be the number 5, because the number 5 is right in the middle of the numerical system. It's the all-seeing eye. It can see all the high numbers and all the low numbers when it look to the left or right. It's in the middle position where Jesus occupied that position with the Last Supper. Count from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jesus would be number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each side of the scales being low and high, but in the middle, it's split by medium. And there's only one number to represent medium. That's the number 5. 0 through 4 is low numbers. 6 to 10 is high numbers. There's only one number that represents medium, and that's 5, which is the serpent. 5 shaped like a serpent because that medium point is the tree of life in the center of the earth. So 5 is really Phi, P-H-I, the woman's vagina, Phi. The symbol for Phi is actually the all-seeing eye of Saturn. It's the alphabet I with the circle to create the eye. So it's all a symbolism of the eye. The planet Saturn with the rings around it is baloney. They just making a big eyeball for the Illuminati. So that planet Saturn that they give you with the ball with the rings around it, that's bull crap. That's the all-seeing eye, the CBS symbol, Saturn. The number 5, 5% nation, ain't got nothing to do with its 5% people who know the truth. Because it's less than that. It's about 2% people that know the truth, if that. And who can be sure that it's 5% people who know the truth? That's a reach. The real meaning why it's the 5% nation, because their teachings come from the God of the 5. Their teachings come from the 5 God, or the Viking. When you look up the Viking, you see it's another man with the horns on. The Viking logo, the Viking man is Odin. Thor, the Baphomet with the horns, with the one eye. Purple is the color of Papa Lekba. Papa Lekba wore purple. So that became the Viking, or the 5 king. VI is 5. I-V-V-I, that's 5. So the Viking is the 5 God, which is Saturn, Satan. And, you know, that's the God of the 5% nation, whether they know it or not. Look at the colors, black and gold. I'm here to share knowledge and enlighten people. Look at the color of the cobblestone. It's black and gold. The colors of the 5% nation, Freemason, and old Kingdom Kemet being black and gold ain't nothing new. They all got the same God, whether they know it or not. The same God. Allah is the God of Freemasonry, the God of the New World Order. Like I said, if you ever take a picture of the cobblestone, look at the colors of the cobblestone. The cobblestone is black and gold. The Masons got the whole world worshiping they God. The Christians worship him as Jesus. The Muslims worship him as Allah. They keep us divided and conquered with this God by having the Muslims think it's different than Jesus. They go to war for generations, and we've been divided and conquered ever since the patriarchs took these symbols and corrupted them. But all of these symbols mean the same thing. So in the 50s, the nation of gods and earth was founded. Also in the 50s, the People's Temple was founded. And they both the same, or the same Masonic entity was going around putting this rebirthing this knowledge to modern generations. They have to redo this mythology to all the modern. Every so many generations, they got to redo the movements. So what was going on in the 50s and all that was the first beginnings of the neo-paganism movement, when people was looking for identity. So the Masons had to go on a big effort to give people identity, to redo the occult knowledge. Every time you try to get awakened, they have to redo shit and make a new leader, reinvent the knowledge. So in the 50s, this same occult knowledge was that was being hidden in Egypt was being reinvented in small groups of people that was trying to become enlightened. They was just giving them a dumbed down version of the sciences in the form of all of these little schools. So when you look at this symbol, this group, the 5% Nation, was founded in the 50s. So was this group, which was called the People's Temple. All of these little groups like the 5% Nation, the People's Temple, all of these groups was coming out with old ass knowledge the ancients been talking about. But they was putting a new face on it to corrupt it. So you see niggas like Jay-Z rocking that chain, and they got this shit, some fashion shit, some clique shit. Join us, join our club. And it wasn't about that. It was about everybody joining together for the benefit of the entire system of nature. You see, you're part of a symbiotic system that man has with Mother Nature. And you break your oath with Mother Nature when you take your oath with the Baphomet. Any oath you take with any man-made group breaks the oath that you have with the Great Mother. Now, you may not pay the price for it in this lifetime, but at the crossroads, when you meet the real goddess of the crossroads, the real entity that occupied a place in between lifetimes, oh yeah, you're going to pay for the shit you're doing, because all ancient cultures spoke of Ma'at and the laws of karma, and the first being last, the last being first. So if you look at the People's Temple, look at the color of the People's Temple, black and gold. Why do all of these groups got black and gold and the same goddamn star? Why? Because they all ran by the same motherfucking people, making you worship Saturn and you don't even know it. So show this to the 5% Nation and tell them, it's okay, you're 5%, good for you. It may benefit a lot of you niggas, because I know none of you niggas got money like some of these 5%ers, man. But don't worry. Don't say to yourself, shit, let me go and join the 5% Nation so I can be rich like Jay-Z. Why would you do that? You're a sellout. You see, here's the thing. If you gotta join a group to get money, that show you that the American dream is bullshit and is rigged up. Look at all the talented rappers out there, young niggas that'll never get on, cause it's the fucking industry rigged up. The game don't care that they talented. Have you took your oath, nigga? Do you belong to our group? Are you part of this? Well, get your talented ass on. We don't give a fuck about you. It ain't about you being talented. 10% of the music industry is your talent. The other 90% is business and who the fuck you know and what kind of school you initiated in, what kind of oath you took. All right? So if you one of the niggas that's saying, let me join a bunch of niggas because I ain't powerful by myself, I can't stand up alone as a man and face whatever coming to me solo. Because where it'll be a nigga like me surrounded by a bunch of niggas who took an oath, but because I don't have a brotherhood or niggas to take an oath with, you got to stand alone with the truth. And if I'm a 34-year-old man that can do it, you niggas can do it too. Quit bitching, quit thinking you got to go take some oath and get with some damn lodge to make progress and make excuses for selling out. Nope, 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 nigga. Stand alone, tell the truth, and become a martyr like you was born to do. That's your fate, niggas. Otherwise, just die a bitch ass nigga. Mother Nature needs some martyrs today, man. She needs some men that ain't gonna be scared to stand alone and die alone telling the truth. If that ain't you, move your ass aside. Let somebody else that's brave that's gonna do it, do it. It ain't gonna be no group of niggas in a lodge that changed the world. It's gonna be a handful of niggas who was fed up of those niggas' control. Regular niggas who said, man, hold up, man. This shit rigged up. This American dream shit ain't real. All the niggas getting on is a part of a clique. And all the niggas struggling ain't part of the clique. And when enough niggas wake up and see that's what's going on, and you know what's gonna happen. If they got balls, you know what's gonna happen. So there was a reason that the nation of gods and earth was founded in the 50s. Along with all of these other little schools of thought that was coming out in the 50s, like the People's Temple, with the same colors and logo as the nation of gods and earth. The elite was selling their dogma to all the people during the 50s. That was like a little renaissance, a mental renaissance of schools of thoughts popping up in the 50s that led all the way up to the 70s to what they called a neo-paganism movement. And what came out of that was a bunch of hippie movements and segregation movements where people was challenging that entity. But the government was fighting those grassroots movements like the hippie movement and introducing the hip hop movement. And the hip hop movement was controlled by the corporations, Adidas, Rolex. You know, they came in selling out with the big time Jewish labels and the corporations. The hippie movement represented a grassroots movement of arts, music, and all of that, and an economy that was sustaining itself from the grassroots without the government or nothing. And they usurped the hippie movement with the hippie hop movement. But that's another subject. I already did a lecture on that. You need to check that out. From hippie movement to hip hop movement. But yeah, there's a lot that y'all don't know, and don't crucify me because you don't know it. Prove me wrong. Research what I'm saying and come tell me about it. We can have a stream and I'm open to talk to. If I'm wrong, correct me. And I'm just sharing my research. So in the 50s, you know, they was coming with a rebirth of this occult knowledge, but it was really dumbing it down. See, because it's all about electromagnetism. And that's what this symbol really is. The symbol of the 5% nation, the whole thing about Africa Bambaataa, the early hip hop groups glorifying the pharaohs in Egypt and the black and gold. It's because of electromagnetism. Wu-Tang knew the secrets too. Light and darkness is electricity and magnetism. That's black and gold. So the colors of Freemasonry is black and gold. Light and darkness represent electromagnetism. So that's why they give it to you, the black and gold. And this symbol is just a stick version of this symbol. So this is an electromagnetic energy field, and it became this symbol. It's the same thing. So the 5% Nation, I'm showing you how they tie into it as well. And now you guys can do your homework, and we will be doing more videos. If you like this, if we can get over 1,000 thumbs up, man, I can keep this series going. I'm gonna let the ratings decide. But that have been the completion of this video. It went on way longer than I thought. 3 hours is way too long, but it's so much information in this 3 hours that I decided to go extend it for you. So peace and much love, everybody. Appreciate you all for tuning in. I'm gonna let you go ahead and get up out of here because that's enough for today. Hey, and P.S. before we fully get up out of here, I know everybody having fun in the chat room as we exit, but as we get out of here, let me take the time to acknowledge the super chat donators of today's show. That's my brother Mind's Eye, appreciated Mind's Eye, my brother Mark Monagan, Wet Flitz, Willie Lil John. I appreciate all of y'all because y'all always donate. I appreciate it. I am that guy you know, appreciate it. Mind's Eye again. I am that guy you know again. JL, appreciate it. Marcus Fields, appreciate it. The Awakened One, appreciate it. He said, this is the realest channel on YouTube. Much love and respect, bro Sanchez. I love that. Marcus Fields says, sound like you're reaching a little bit, my boy. Well, you gotta reach the stretch. You can't reach the next level if you don't reach to the damn next level. See, people like me do all the reaching, but when we break open boundaries, other folks get the credit and they didn't do no reaching. We don't make these giant stretches in our understanding of consciousness without reaching. So reaching is a great thing. That means you thinking outside the box. You reaching outside of your comfort zone. Even if somebody say, you reaching. You right, I'm reaching. You got to reach to stretch. Can't practice yoga if you don't reach. Now, reaching and stretching is healthy for you, so I advise all of y'all to reach. Reach for the stars and above. Reach. Shout out to Cam Get It. Appreciate the donation. And to Mad Boxing Fan 78, I just want to say I really appreciate all of y'all's support. I couldn't leave without calling out those supporters. Now, peace and much love, guys. Enjoy the music on your way out.